the interface of Nuke. How does that work? Okay, we want to have enough information to be able to proceed with that. Let me just close something I've just opened. But this is how it should look. When you go to workspace compositing, this is how it should look. So you've got number one, your viewport, number two, your node graph, and number three, your properties. You've got here a library of the nodes that you want to use. Okay, I recommend that you use the tab, as we said, and then read to import or any other node that you already know. Should you not know what the node is, you just go there and start probably even exploring around with the color ones or with the roto, right? So this is the roto stuff. You've got roto paint, these are the main ones. But if you don't know what it's called or you would like to start using other ones, then you can come over here to the library. Otherwise, please come over here and then press tab or the shortcut. Now we can talk about shortcuts as well. It's going to be R for reading. It's going to be W for writing. It's going to be G for grading. So there are a few shortcuts, but the point is I need you to get going first, working instead of focusing too much on the letters for the shortcuts. Okay? Right. We have three main areas to worry about: the viewport, the viewer, the nodes, and the properties. The viewer, there are a few things I want you to know. Let me load another footage for you because that one is going to help explain one functionality in the viewport. I'm going to get a right, and I'm going to call it number 4. Oh, sorry, I've got this one selected. That's not good. Come over here and say number 4. Right, this is number 4. This is one of the footage that we have, and then it's got an alpha. It has an alpha. So it's just the kid, no background. And we have, I'm just using this one for example purposes. It's not, I haven't used this bill actually. So we have here an alpha, and if you want to see the alpha alone, you can come over here and select alpha. Okay, so in your viewport, you have the possibility to select RGB alone, RGBA with alpha, or the alpha alone. Okay, there's another bit here is when you come, let's move to another footage and say it's 1. I press H to maximize this, and then RGB, you can look at your red, green channel, blue channel. I'm going to press alpha here and then turn black because this footage does not have an alpha, right? It's a live action one without any green screen keying or anything. RGB is the full thing. There's another bit here, which is this comparison story here, this stuff in here in the middle. What is this? A, B, and then something in between. What is that? Let me show you how it works by clicking on this one and assigning number 2. Okay, I've assigned number 2. Okay, so this is going to be, I got 1 and 2. Here, I've got read. I said B is number 2 here, right? If I go to wipe, and it's going to be by default under, I'm going to get 2 lines here. I've got A, and then, okay, I've got AA, because I cannot see the B one. If I come over here and start, well, let me just, oh, actually, I have the read 1. I've got the read 2. This is a little bit, because they're messed up, because read 2 is connected to 1. Let me just correct this one quickly for you, please. Read 1 is, this is meant to be, let's make it read 1, okay. Let's make it 1, and I'm going to make this one 2, okay. All right, this is now how it works. You have it split in 2. You have it split, and you have the possibility to fade in, out one of them, the B. This is the B footage. Sorry, this is the read 1. Yes, this is the B footage. B footage is read 1, right? And A footage is read 2. So you are able actually to do it like this, just to see for comparison purposes. If it is the same place, and here in this case it's not the same place, but it's a similar place. If you want to do it for color correction or for any other purposes, you're able to see two footages at the same time with this. So you are also able to move this around. You don't need to do it splitted vertically. You can do it any way you want. Okay? So that is this one. Let's switch it off. When it was on, you got A and B, and it tells you which one and all other information about that. So you have two here. Okay, let's switch that off. We don't need it for now. What else I would like to tell you about the interface that is quite interesting. Okay, something is important. If you can't see what you're doing, or something is looking weird for you in the viewport in terms of something is messed up, or it's black. It's black. If it's black, chances are something has changed here. So look for either something that turns red, or check your here RGB. So I'm going to go for A, and it's all black. Imagine you were working on this footage over here, and I'm going to go to number 4, and I'm working this footage. This footage, say for example, I'm working on the alpha for this footage. Let me just see, that's number 4. RGB, reveal the alpha first. Okay, I am working on the alpha, and I show the alpha here, right? I show the alpha, and I'm working on the stuff, and then later on say, okay, let's move on to another one, and you move to this one, and it turns black. Just like, okay, what is going on? Because you have changed something, so you need to go back to RGB, and you are going to end up with changes like, say, for example, if you tweak this, this becomes red. It tells you this has changed. You tweak this, it becomes red. Pay attention to the red indicators if, because they indicate something is red, except this one, which is a different purpose. Okay, let's reset this stuff to where it was. That was 1, right? This is, by the way, this is your gain, right? This is your exposure, and this is going to be your gamma. Okay. There's going to be 1 here. Okay, all right. So this is about this. One frustrating bit that you may encounter is the frame range timeline here. I mean, I assume you haven't seen anything because I had it on the right parameter. Now I'm setting. I've just put it back to the default one. Okay. The default one is global. I was working with something else. I was working with input, but I'll explain to you why I do that. Global is what it comes. And then you have the option timecode, if you're working with timecode, and frames, right? This is the annoying bit. Not here, actually. This is your solution. But the annoying bit is that you are, so I've put it back to default now. You are working, say, on number 4. Number 4, if I click on that, has only 249, 250-ish frames. Now it's got 249 frames, and my timeline here is like my frame range here is up till 884. Why is that? Because the first footage I have imported has defined the settings of the. I've just pressed now on S. If you want to see the settings, the project settings, you press on S. You highlight here and you press on the node graph and you press S. You have your project settings, and when whatever you import first is going to be defining actually your frame range, and that is not well, that can be a bit handy, but when you work with a lot of footage and they have different frame ranges, you may be frustrated. It's like, right, this one is 250 and I'm just literally here, and then what do I do with all of this? Okay, let's see what we can do with that. I'm going to keep it to, actually I'm going to make it even worse. I'm going to come here and see this is 3:30:55. This footage is the longest. Let me go back to my settings, and I'll come here and say, okay, 30:55. Right, so this is global, meaning it is whatever you're doing here, say 10,000, whatever, 10,000. whatever you do in here changes this. Why does it change it? Because you have chosen the project setting. But if you prefer to go for something else, meaning if I have, oh, I have this one in the viewport. It reads from the viewport, not from the node graph, not from the properties, from the viewport. If you go down here on global, it's input. You're actually asking Nuke, can you please give me the frame range of the file I am seeing? And that's how you get it. Now you get 0 to 49. If you move to this one, and I am somewhere, let's say I'm going to select it to be number 2. What happened now is that it has changed from 249 to 884. So this is how you change your setting, I would say. I don't want you to keep changing your stuff. If you leave it on input, it may be much better in the first stage, because you're working with input files and you want to look to look at each one separately without starting to get any weird weird non-actions, actually frozen frames. What do I mean by frozen frames? I go to global here. Global is 10,000. I'm just exaggerating. I have 250 now. But if I come over here and I select 4 in the viewport, select 4, I still have the kid. Wherever I got him like he's frozen in the air there. What is that? The kid is moving in the footage, because if you come here, then you get him moving, right? Why then is he still there? Is it not supposed to disappear, the footage after the last frame? Well, because we have told, actually, because by default, the setting for this footage, if you double click on it, is frame range before 0, hold, after the last frame, hold. So before the first and after the first, freeze with the frame. So it gives us the frame, right? The last frame. The last frame is frozen here. If I come to 5,000, is the last frame. This is the last frame, which is 249. It's the same thing. Well, if you go just a bit down, it's going to be different. Okay, right. So this is your setting here. It's useful, but if you're worried, thinking there's no action going on in my movie here, but it's because you are out of your range and your default says hold. Keep the default. It's a good thing, but make sure you're working with input if that's what you need, right? So input now is the right thing. Let me go back to global, set this to 2000 or something like that, and go to another footage. Oh, in out. What is in out? Let me explain it with a bigger footage. Let me go to this one, for example, and yeah, show number 1. Show number 1 in this case is going to be right. In and out. In and out is basically the input and output that you define yourself. Let's say, where do they start shooting? Okay, here start the action. I'm gonna have some people running over here. I know this a bit fast. Okay, I've got these people shooting. I've got these guys running. Let's start here. Yeah, let's start somewhere. This is, go to previous frame. Let's say this is our endpoint. You press on I, and you have defined your endpoint. You come over here, and you press your, and they've already finished here. The smoke is all over the place. Almost there. Okay, here we go. Because actually from the whole footage, only this part. Okay, I press O for in and out. Well, basically, you get the point. If I go here and select, just show me in out, it's gonna show me just the in and out. Okay, so this is what these are the parameters you need to be aware of, so that you don't get frustrated, especially for the timeline, for the frame range. Okay, another thing, if you would like for the interface, what else? I have here 1. Okay, you don't have this. You have something like this. Then, let me just start messing around with these things. Just opening this and then open S and then go back to this one. We have a long list of things. By default, when you open Nuke, it gives you properties 10. Then whatever you work on, if you double click, it goes up, but then everything else stays there. This might seem like a useful thing, like a bit of generosity from Nuke to think, well, okay, I'm trying to get closer to customers in terms of giving them all the options listed here. This is one of the most confusing things you can work with. I strongly recommend you drop this to 1. Okay, work with only one at a time, otherwise you're going to be tweaking the wrong properties for the wrong node. Sorry, you're going to be working not on your footage. How bad does it sound? That's really bad. So you're going to be tweaking another footage when you think you've just done it for yours, especially if it's something subtle or if it's masking, or that is not great. Okay, so what we have here is read 2 on, and I have read 1. Just pay attention to a few things. You need to double click. I know that these things could be a bit, it's not, I need you to be aware of this. I have properties read 2, and I have here this one highlighted. You have sometimes the impression, let me just do this and click here. These things, fortunately, unfortunately, I think mostly unfortunately, have no relationship with each other. The viewport is showing read 4. Yeah, read 4. That's read 4. The node graph is highlighting read 1, and the properties is showing read 2. This is truly not user-friendly because, okay, it gives you freedom, but you should always be awake. Be very careful that you need, number 1, I need to get my viewport on 1. That's 1. I need to, that should be this one. Just define it. Viewport on 1. And then I need to make sure that this one is actually, which is read 2, double click on it. Only once you double click on it. If you don't double click on it, it's not going to happen. Sorry, I'm repeating that too much. You need to double click on it. It happens so often that you start tweaking the wrong nodes. If you have here transform, 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 and you click on, you have one clicked, you think you're working on that one. You're working on another one. You've just moved another person from his or her place, and you don't know because you think you just moved it in yours. Double clicking is very important to get your properties here, and please clear that list. Just get yourself 1. And if you want to work with the settings, you are going to press S here and you get the settings. Please note that this, let me just put it back to the default. This is how it comes shipped in. Nuke, when you open it, the default is 4K. Whatever projects you work in, it defaults the full size format of 4K Super 35. This is not what you are working on, most likely. I mean, you can, but in our case, it's 4K DCP. You could be working on 1080p. Exporting, I mean, your final export should be something like this. So it is what you want to work with, right? So you need to set it at that. Otherwise, it's set for you. And you may end up down the line with problems, stuff not being shown up because your setting is 2K and your footage is 4K, and what you're trying to work on is 1080p. So just make sure you have this right. Okay, here project settings, just work on the maximum you have. Probably do something that works for you. I don't know. I'll just go for the highest frame rate of that I have, that the footage has. This one is the longest, it's 3055, just go 3055. I don't want to go any higher than that. Nice. One other bit is if you want to maximize a window, you just press space, okay? Whichever one you want to maximize, you just press space, and you just need to highlight, just put your mouse there, and then you are going to be able to see that. Okay, we open Nuke, we get this workspace, we go to workspace and go to compositing. That's what Nuke is meant for. Compositing, that's what we're going to learn today. All right, so we're going to go the fast route, the fast track. This is the fast way to learn, is by doing things instead of just telling you this one does this one does that, and taking you through the whole thing. I am going to explain how it works, but I'm going to take you in a result-oriented approach. Okay, shall we do that? First things first, what is this? I've got 1, 2, 3. 1 is your viewport. This is where you see your stuff. Number 2 is your node graph. These are the two most important areas you work in. And of course, you've got the properties. Number 3. 1, 2, 3. Viewport, node graph, and properties. Fine. Okay, let's bring in stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're going to composite an image of 3 kids floating in the air above a river in a beautiful landscape, and we're going to put some background rocks in the front. Okay, shall we do that? Let's do it. We're going to do it really fast. Bringing something in Nuke, importing it is called read. So we're going to look for read. So where is read? Okay, read is a node. Everything in Nuke is a node. It's node based. All right. So we're going to need to import a node, bring in a node. How do we bring in nodes? There is the not so recommended way. I wouldn't. Okay, I need to show you that. I wished I didn't show it to you, but you can find them here, right? Because I don't want you to go there unless you don't know what you're looking for, right? So if you don't know how it is called, then you can find it here. You come over here, read, write, profile, UDM, import, constant, blah, blah. And you come over here to your color things, so the grade, exposure. Blah. You have them all here, right? This is like your library of nodes. But fast track is fast track. I'm going to give you the standard way of doing things, but not the shortcut way, not the keyboard shortcut. Keyboard shortcuts is a step too far. I'm going to be overloading you with letters and things. Let me give you the safest route for fast and safe. Yeah, there's fast and confusing and fast and safe. I'm going to give you the fast way. Fast way is come over here and click tab, because the other fast and confusing way could be click R. I don't want you to remember everything. You're going to remember it when you start practicing, because I'm expecting you to practice. And that's how you're going to get your R, and you're going to get your W, and get your G, and your keyboard shortcuts. That's coming, no problem. But the fast and safe way is press tab. What are we looking for? We're looking for importing things. Importing things in Nuke is called read. So we're going to need to write read. Okay, read. Here is my footage. I'm going to go and bring in the kids. Okay, I've got here. Later, I'm going to show you how Nuke behaves with different types of footage. I've got red footage, Ursa, Blackmagic Ursa. I've got Sony camera. I've got a few different things, and I'll show you how it behaves with each one of them. But remember one important thing. The most important thing is compositing happens with, less often than not, with image sequences. And we're going to come back to that. Okay. So let me go and get my kids, my floating kids. So these are OpenEXR images. Let me get M first. Okay, and when you press tab, so I've just pressed tab, and I have gotten the last node I've used as default. Just press enter and you get it loaded, right? So I'm going to quickly go and get my other. So this is EXR, right? So if you can't see it, by the way, if this is turned off, and I do not expect Nuke to have it turned off, because by default it should be turned on, just click on sequence and you're going to get the sequence, and it's going to load the whole sequence. This is how it happens in VFX compositing with image sequences. This is the second time I'm saying that. I'm going to make a point later. So this is number 3. I'm going to get another kid. So I think 3 kids are enough for now. I've got 6 of these actually, but 3 are enough. Okay, nice. So I've got 3 kids here. Each one of them. Wait, hold on a moment. I can't see them. Yeah, because it's not connected to a viewer. That's how it works in Nuke. Unless it's connected to a viewer, which is this. You connect something to this one, you can see it. I'm going to connect it, but this isn't the way I recommend to connect things. I'm going to do it, but this is the last time I do it and the last time you do it, okay? Connect it, and you can see it. That's it. Okay, let me just connect it, because I don't want you to do it that way. There's a faster way. All right, let me first bring in my footage. Or everything I need. Let's get the background. Background is mountain lake stuff, and I'm gonna go and get rocks, and I'm gonna get this rock again because I'm a bit lazy. I'm gonna use the same rock but differently. All right, so we have, this is all we need for now. We're going to go very fast and composite this stuff. Now I'm gonna have to put these 3 kids somewhere Let me just assign this. Okay, how do you assign? How do you view? To be able to see what you're doing, okay, I know you have your thumbnails, but to be able to see what you're doing, you need to assign it to the viewer. You can see all, you can assign all of them and start moving by number. It works by number. This is number one. So how it happens, how it works, where your cursor is placed defines what you're doing. If you click and place it in the node graph, you are assigning a number. If you click and press a number, you are calling to see from the viewer that number. Okay, I'm going to come here and press 1. I've assigned it. Yes, because I've just assigned it, I can see it in the viewport. But I could call other ones. Now I only have one. Let me get the other ones first, and we can do that. Okay, press on this one and press 2. I'm talking about the alphanumeric buttons in your keyboard. Okay, I'm assigning number 3, click number 4, click number 5, click number 6. Done. Okay, if I come over here now and press 1, I see my first. Press 2, but hold on a moment. Where's my cursor? I've clicked on the viewport, and I have on the viewer. It's called viewer. I'm just using my terminology, viewport, and I have my cursor in here. That's why I'm able to move between them. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I come over here and get something selected and press 1, it gets messed up. Not messed up. Basically, I'm saying assign it to the one that's selected. Okay, let me undo, move. Okay, I'll just reassign this one to 1, and this one becomes then 2. Okay, fine. So how do we do that? How do we composite things? Well, we're going to have to bring them together. Bringing them together means merge. Let's merge that. Okay, what do we need? Press tab. Everything is with press tab. Okay, you are going later on to start using keyboard shortcuts, but that's another step. Let's now get working. Okay, merge. This is merge. When you bring it closer to a node, to a line, it connects. Merge, the only important thing to know about that is that there's B and there's A. What is B? Remember it as background. A is what's in the foreground, atop, okay? So your background is what's behind, but I can't see it. I've connected the thing, but I can't see it. Well, because your viewport is still on number 1. And this is number what? Number 4. If you come over here and click number 4, you're going to get it. All right, so how do I get my kids then? I have my background. How do I get my kids, and how do I get my rocks? You get your kids by just connecting A. But I have... Okay, this has alpha. This image sequence is with alpha, so it's already being keyed out. But I have 3 kids. So is that it? Like A and B, and how do we do the... Do I need another merge node for that? Do I need to keep adding merge, and it keeps crowded? And no, you just point. So I'm just going to move this one away, because now we have one viewer. Yeah? We're going to remove all of this stuff. I've connected them so that you can see what we're doing. Okay, so we've got this one as, disconnect everything and get me this one as number 1. Yeah, I'm going to see just one thing. Okay, now let's come over and connect it. That becomes A2. Can you see that? And I'm going to connect, that's A3. I've got all my 3D kids. Okay, how do I bring in the rocks? Well, same thing. That's A4. Let's bring it over here, shall we? That's A4. And that's A5. Okay. We have a problem, don't we? Because this image is actually, it's got alpha. That's important in Nuke to know. Image sequences, sometimes when it doesn't work, sometimes you have alpha and it works, and sometimes you have alpha and it doesn't work for you at this stage. When you're starting as a beginner, just remember one thing. It doesn't work, bring in another node. It's called premult. Premult. And that's your node. So I just delete it and just select this one and press premult. That's your premult. Okay, and I'm going to put it on the other one as well. Premult. And here we go. We're now using the alpha. Okay, I can explain this later, but for now, if the alpha is not removed, it's not visible, so if the alpha is not working, use the pre-mold. For this one, I don't need it because it's working. Okay, let's do that. We have brought all of them together now. Well, okay, so this is like mixing everything in a pan to cook, but I need the right proportions. Give you the right proportions. Let's do that. Let me bring this one back here. I prefer to have my background and foreground things in different places. Oh, by the way, this is probably a beautiful time. No, let's get it messier. I want to get it a little bit messier before I can show you how you organize your node with one click. Your node graph with one click. Let's now get this stuff going. So I am actually going to disconnect, because you don't work like this, bring everything together. But I showed you how you do it. I'm going to disconnect them first, right? Disconnect A, disconnect this one, and just keep the kids, all right? I want to work on the kids first and then bring in the foreground. Kids, okay, I want them to be levitating above the river in there, back there, okay? So what do I need to do? I need to shrink the size and I need to move them left and right and probably up and down. And so how do I do that? You need to bring in a node. Everything is node. And come over here, keep this one selected and press tab, and it's called transform. Transform. Okay, you have it transformed. When you have it, this one clicked and you press tab, whatever node you select is connected to that. I'm going to need to do it for all of them, so it's the same thing because I've used transform last. It's still ready for me. I click here, tab, transform, done. Okay, I'm going to transform, but transform gives me a lot of options. By the way, we have now a in the properties here to be really careful. I really want you not to use this setting here of 10 because it's getting really messy here. You've got a lot of properties, and I recommend, I know Nuke is trying to be a bit generous with how it's showing you all properties of the nodes that have 10, okay, not 10 properties for 10 nodes. Sorry, the properties for 10 nodes. This is too much. You can get easily confused. Please get in the habit of getting just one property at a time. Otherwise, you may start tweaking the wrong footage. And keep in mind, you need to have it double clicked. Can you see now that we have, we have transform 3. If we come here and we select read 1, we have this one selected, but we still have transform 3. We need to double click on the thing. Double click, then you get the properties. Okay, so transform. Which one is this? This is the kid over here, and we're going to have to scale him. Before scaling, let's move them around. So you get once you double click on transform, you get this thingy over here, so you can move the kid around. Okay, I'm going to move him here. Let me double click on this one and move the other kid here, and double click on this one and put this one in the middle. No, actually, I mean to have this one in the middle. This one in the middle. Yes, something like that. Okay. Now I need to push them further. How do we do that? We just do it with scale. Number 1 is scale, so it's going to be 0.3 possibly for this one. Yeah, and then this one is going to be 0.3. You know, let me go back to this one and put 0.2. 0.2. So I'm scaling down the kids, and then I come to this girl over here and give her a 0.3 again. Yeah. Now, she's too far away here, so I'm going to bring her here. You can just grab this handle here, and it should work fine. This is okay for me. This is okay. You could push them further, actually, above the river, but it's up to you. It's an artistic choice for now. Let me get, where's the other kid? It's above the river, something like this. Yeah, not bad. You can push them further if you want. I can do that. Let's do that. 0.2. And give this fellow here 0.15, and this is going to be 0.25, something like that. Just to give the impression that one is closer to us than another, and the other one is further back in the background. Good. All right. Now this is done. We need to bring our lovely rocks in the foreground because I don't like the saturated leaves in here. These are okay, but this is too saturated, too bright, too not really. It's attracting too much attention. I want the attention to be on the kids. So I'm going to bring these rocks in the foreground here, and I'm going to blur them. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to connect this. Yeah, connect. Okay, it works best when it's on the left. Let's do that. Connect it in here, and I get my rock. Okay, this is an ugly cut, but for me, it's just quick stuff to get the upper part right. So this part works best. This is not really good. This was like really rough selection in Photoshop. I am going to add again a transform node because I need to move this thing around, right? Be careful, this is not for your rock. This is for transform 3. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to have to bring in a transform. Oh, sorry, let me just select this pre-mode, so the last one, and then transform. This is my transform node. I know it's getting messier. I want the node graph to get even more messier so that I can show you how you can, with one click, put it back, put it toward something that looks organized. Let's do that quickly and transform. How do we do that? I actually want to move it around. And I want to flip it, but I don't want this because it has white edges. I'm bringing not ideal footage so that you know how to deal with it as well. I want this part here to be on this. I want to flip this thing. How do I do that? Well, you do it by bringing another node, mirror. Okay, mirror, and then now you can flip horizontal or vertical. Yeah, flipped horizontal now. Nice. I can go back and double click on this and then move my rock here. But I wanted to cover everything, so I'm going to need to scale it. Let's go back to the transform node, and here in scale, I'm going to press 1.1, 1.2 maybe. Let me just move it first. Yeah, that's enough. That is more than enough for me. And I need to cover just this one maybe. Yeah, just for fun, have another rock. One is enough maybe, but you know what, whatever. I'm going to bring another one. I need to show you how to do things in Nuke. Okay. Pre-modes, I'm going to have to bring in a transform. It's the same thing. Transform and a mirror. Let me first see what I'm doing before I do a mirror. Okay. Okay, transform is going to be bring it here. Yeah, I want to have that is not great. It's not a great place. So what do we have here? Guys, I've got the same corner here. That's not good. I want to have the other side. So let me bring it. Let me flip it again. So flipping it means mirror. And with mirror, I'm going to flip the horizontal bit and get just this part. Now I double click on transform and bring it over here. Well, I don't want like this edge here. You shouldn't do that, by the way. When you bring in footage, it needs to be clean. But I'm showing you how to deal also with not so ideal footage. I don't want to see this. I just want to see this upper part here. So I need to rotate it. Rotate means I'm with this one selected, with the right one double clicked. I come here and say rotate, just move it. Yes, something like that. Nice, nice, good. This is what I want. But I want to hide this one. Let's see, just move it a little bit down here. A bit, something like this, yeah. But I want this rock because it has this white edge here, ugly, to be behind the other one, hidden behind the one. Just get this one and give the impression that they're not close to each other. And I'm going to do that with the blur, but for now, I want to move it. How do I do that? Actually, the numbering matters in the A's. So if I disconnect this one first, and disconnect this one, and then reconnect this one as number 4, and reconnect this one as number 5, it goes behind. The last number is the foreground, is the utmost foreground. Okay, good. So now that we have our stuff, it's time, it's getting messy. Let's use our magic number, sorry, our magic organizer. You're going to select everything, press shift and then highlight so it selects everything, and press on the keyboard the letter L. And all of a sudden, everything looks so beautifully organized. That's nice. Maybe not as great as you would want it to be, but it is definitely working. Something like this, yeah. Just to avoid those overlaps. All right, good. So there's some order in there. I wanted to have some blur. To blur the rocks, actually, it's like the foreground is blurred. The very last background is blurred, and what's in the middle is about sharp because that's the focus of our image. And that is the last thing we're going to do. The last thing we are going to do after mirroring. So I'm going to need to add a blur node here, blur, and the blur node here, right? And you come over and you say, for example, 4, and come over and you say this is going to be 4.5, something like that. Okay, maybe a bit more. Just 50, just show you that it's working. 5 is quite tiny because I'm not sure if you're able to see the difference. That's why I'm exaggerating the things to show you how it's actually working. So this is 4 and this is 5. This is not good. This is 4.5. Just to give the impression that one is closer than the other. Okay. All right. So yeah, and this is how you composite your stuff quickly in the first 20 minutes in Nuke. Now that we have already done a first work in Nuke, I'd like to take you back and explain a few things because it's important to know that, number one, compositing happens with image sequences. Why am I saying that? Let's see. I'm going to import, which basically means read. Tab, read, and I'm going to bring some footage. And I'm going to start with red footage. Say, for example, this one. This is coming straight from the red camera. Okay? 2225, just an interesting frame to look at. And then I'm going to connect it by pressing 1. And this is the red footage, right? So this is small here. You can scroll, use the scroll wheel, but also you can also use F or H. Okay, F to frame it like this, way to get some, keep some borders, and H does not. So just maximize the use of the viewport. And what you have is once you import it and you double click on this node, you get a list of options and parameters. Actually, this is unique to the red. Actually, each camera footage comes in Nuke with different parameters. Blackmagic has got just 4 in additional to whatever comes on top here. This is like standard part, and this is the rest of what comes in with red raw footage, right? In Blackmagic, it's just 4 of them. I have the possibility actually to work directly with red footage, raw red footage in Nuke. Now, this is not necessarily the case with other cameras because Nuke is not great at importing all the formats. We're going to try to bring in some Sony FS7 footage, and it's going to give us an error. Let's try to connect it, and it tells us, sorry, unknown, unsupported codec. Oh, this is a Sony camera, Sony FS7. But this is straight from the camera, so it doesn't import it. Okay, let's go and get read. I'm going to try to bring you a .mov file, .mov file. This is a Windows machine. This is a Windows machine, and I'm trying to bring in a MOV file. What does it give me? Error. Assign, number 3. So, oops, MOV format cannot be decoded without MOV32 or MOV64 enabled. Right. Do you get the point? Nuke is not great at reading everything. It does read Canon camera's footage. It does read, it reads, I mean by that raw footage, yeah? Raw from Canon, raw from Red, raw from Blackmagic Ursa. It's all in, it works. But it doesn't read Sony. This is actually not raw. This is 4K but not raw. It doesn't read MXF Sony. It doesn't read MOV on Windows. The point is actually, the real point is not it doesn't work or it doesn't read. The real point is you are in the realm of image sequences. Compositing happens with image sequences. Get in the habit, please. And if you are working in a studio, if you're going to work in a studio, or even if you are actually going to work as an independent filmmaker trying to make good use of the compositing capabilities of any compositing software, whether After Effects, Nuke, Natron, any other compositing software, get in the habit of working with image sequences. Because when you export something from Maya, it comes as an image sequence. When you export something from Houdini, Cinema 4D, Blender, 3ds Max, View, TerraGen, everything comes as all the 3D world works with image sequences. What compositing is, yes, sometimes bringing 2D with 2D, but it's best done. It is best done with image sequences. So I have this. I have another footage actually, which is image sequence. Yes, we have brought in actually. Yeah, these are the sorry, these are the same kids. Yeah, same kids. These are. So if I wanted to export this as .mov, by the way, it's the same. It's the same. It's the same file. J. Oh, it's J. It's another kid. J green screen. But here we've got M. It's another child. But it's the same project. This was exported as MOV, as QuickTime, and this was exported as an AXR image sequence. It works fine with image sequences. Image sequences are your first choice. If you can't get, which basically means that sometimes you need to transcode. It may mean that, well, it's not applicable for Red, but it may mean that for some other cameras, you are going to transcode it and export as image sequence using sometimes the manufacturer's software. It's actually quite fine doing that, really quite fine doing that. You may be thinking, well, I'm going to learn the Sony software. I'm going to learn the Canon, how do they call it? Canon road development something. Every company's got its own thing. Red has got, you don't need it. You don't need to do it because Nuke reads Red perfectly. But even Red, let me just show you. Red has got this Red Cine X Pro. And in here you can transcode things. Let's assume Nuke does not read it. Well, actually, Natron does not read it. So if you stuck image sequences, come over here. This is your Red stuff. Drag it in here, then whatever, put it in here, then get your whatever. This is not a course about Red Cine X Professional, but the idea is that you are meant to be able to deal with footage no matter what it comes from and no matter what kind of error Nuke throws at you, because you're in the VFX compositing image sequence realm, right? So when you get, let me just say, for example, I'm going to use this part and this part. So we've just cut in and out, and I'm going to be able to use this part only. And then you go and export it as an AXR from Red Cine X Professional. Now, you don't need this for Nuke because it works brilliantly. You just close this. Let's go back to Nuke. No, that's not the one. You don't need it, but I'm just telling you, you may end up getting some errors and stuff. Like it's not meant to be a movie file. It's meant to be a image sequence. But you know, if it works as is, fine. Get in the habit, please, of using image sequences. That is the point about image sequences. Now we're going to move to something else. Color correction in Nuke. We're going to start with the grade node. By the way, if you want to see more, there's an icon here where this is the library, full library of your nodes, and then here there's color. So you click in here, you've got a whole list of nodes, and we have selected for you the nodes that are used the most often, those that you are more likely to use than others. Okay, so it's going to be starting with the grade, and we're going to use as well color correct. Okay, and we're going to use the hue shift. Where is that? Hue shift. We're going to be using hue correct as well. Okay, so let's start with the two most commonly used, grade and color correct. Okay, so I'm going to click on this one and press tab and get myself a grade node. Right, grade. What do we get in here? So this is a red footage. Let me double click on the footage. This is red footage, and it comes with all bells and whistles in terms of parameters for RAW. This is red raw footage, 4K, right? So you can already tweak things here, but then you are impacting the file in the hard disk, yeah. So not because Nuke is doing it, but because red raw parameters do that. Okay, you can undo that. Fine. I am not going to touch these. I'm going to show you how you can use your color grading using the grade node. So let me click on this. By the way, I have changed this from 10 to 1. what is recommended. So otherwise, you get too many properties open there, and you're just working with one at a time. All right. Working with colors, what is important to know is that what is important to do is that it's you need to see what you're doing. It's color. Yeah. So working with values, yes, we have values here, but we're not like, I know that color grading is a mathematical operation, but still, it's what you see that you want to, you see with your eyes the objective you want to achieve. So to be able to see better, there are a few tools, a few graphs that I want you to open so that you know what we're talking about here. Let me please first open these graphs, and then we talk about the rest, right? This area over here is empty. I'm going to make great use of that. I'm going to split this vertically and then split this. Okay, I want to have my vector here. I want to have my histogram here, and I want to have my waveform here. Okay, so let me do that, and I'm going to split this one horizontally, right? We go get our vector, Windows, new scope, vector. It jumps in here, just put it like this, okay? Let me quickly go get a histogram. This is our histogram, and here is going to be our waveform. We drag it. Okay, this is how I prefer that you do your color work in Nuke. Let me just quickly disable this. I have a lovely application called f.lux, which helps in the evening. It turns it. It's like night shift, but when I'm recording, this is not. We're working on color, so it's going to distort your color. Okay, I just disabled it for another hour. Here we go. Okay. But it's quite useful too, by the way. If you're going to, okay, useful and a warning. If you're going to be working a lot with computers up till late at night, for you to sleep better, it's good to have that f.lux. I think the website is getflux, something like that. It's free of charge. You can use it on Windows, on I think Mac as well. Yeah, Mac and Linux, all three. It's free of charge. It's a bit like night shift. Okay, closing the bracket about this one that interrupted our work. But a warning here, please disable it when you're working at night, or just make sure that your color grading doesn't happen in the evening, because otherwise you're going to end up with, oh, this is too oranges, because that's when it was open. That's the right time actually for this thing to pop up for us to talk about it, because a few people, actually it would be great if everybody uses it, because it really makes a difference in your life in terms of how well you sleep. The following day you really feel good. Good. Let's go back to our grading. This is going to be, of course, if you have a Mac, you've got the night shift, so you don't need that. Well, anyway, okay. Back again to the grading. All right, now I have my stuff. I'm ready to look at the grade node. What can we do with the grade node? We have here a footage that has a certain values. And when I move in here around my cursor, you can see here, this is changing. But it's changing because the footage is not overexposed or too dark. It's changing just between 0 and 1. Actually 0.0 something, but the values are between 0 and 1. This is why when you come over here in the grade node, you're going to find 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. What is this story of 0 and 1? Now, if not, you're not familiar. If you're a beginner, I'm going to explain that. If you know it, fine, but it's worth going through this again, right? 0 is black. 1 is white. Okay, what I mean is really black. 0 is pure, or as we call it technically, absolute black. 0 is absolute black, 1 is absolute white. Okay, so is there something else? No, there's 0 and 1. There are values between 0 and 1, but there are also values less than 0, negative values, 0.3. What is that? If 0 is black, what is, sorry, minus 0.3? Minus 0.3? If 0 is black, what is minus 0.3? Minus 0.3 is what is called sub-black. Now, sub-blacks, you don't want to have them. This is why your values need to be between 0 and 1. And we also have values that are higher than 1, 3, 4, sometimes 6. What are these? If the absolute white is 1, what are these? These are called super whites, and you don't want to have them either. Okay, how do we do that? We do it by, how do we make sure we don't have these? We clump, this is by default, it comes in Nuke, this node comes by default black clump. I would recommend to have the white clump as well. So have them on at all times, checked on at all times. By the by doing this, you are going to be able to make sure that your values stop at 0, don't go below 0, negative values, so blacks, and it doesn't go beyond 1. You don't get into the super whites. All right, super whites not good, so blacks not good. 0 to 1, we can talk. Right, so let's now talk about these parameters over here. Well, shall I show you actually? I'm going to mess these around and show you the sub blacks and the super whites. Show them to you in. I'm going to open these. I'm going to ruin this a bit. Yeah, just ruin it and show you that when I come over here, you see minus. You can start seeing minus here. See, the last value was all negative. Here's minus 1.4 everywhere. Okay. These are the sub blacks. And let me just restore set nobs to default. Yep, this is how you set it back to the default. Just right click and set nobs to the default. If you keep messing around and then you want to go back to the default. Let me mess down the whites to show you the, yeah, let's kill this one with whites. Right, so I come over here and it tells you the values are between 0 and 1. And now I have, what is it? 2.7 to 1.4. And if you come over here, it's even more. 4.6 for the blues. Okay, because this is the sky. All right, good. So we are going to bring this back to where it was and make sure these are on, to make sure that actually, oh, they're on. Let's mess with them now. If you come over here, it's clamped at 0. I mean, yes, the image is messed up. I mean, it doesn't prevent you from messing up your image, but the values don't go lower than 0. Let me reset to default, and for the white, even if you go down, the values stay at 1. Sorry, even if you increase the whites, which basically means go down on the indicator there, you still have 1 as maximum. It's clamped at 1. So this is to explain how it goes. Right. I am going to need to do this again. So yeah, just leave them on, reset this. I'm going to leave them on. How does that work in here? I opened all 3 of them. You don't need to do that, but you know, it's for fun. You have enough space here. Let's do that. But I would like to explain using 2 of them, the histogram and the waveform, which has basically show you kind of similar things for the purposes that I want to show you. This is 0 and this is 1. The values are distributed between 0 and 1. There is a lot of black, so this is the 0 here, and these are the values in between. The 1 is somewhere here. The absolute white is here. The absolute black is here. Let's see it in the waveform. The absolute white is up here, right? And the absolute black is up here. Is down here, right? Good. So because these are minus, and it shouldn't go more higher than 100. So you don't go lower than 0. All right. When we play around, let's mess again our footage. See what happens. Black point. Now it's time actually to not, it's not messing our footage, but tell you what each one does. Black point, it leaves the, sorry, okay, what it does, because you have the value here of 0, if you look at it this way, you are telling Nuke, can you please, for all the pixels that have this particular value, make them black? So if I say, well, this is already 0. So if I tell Nuke, can you make 0, 0? Yes, it's already 0. But can you make 0.2 and anything between 0 and 0.2, make it 0, which basically means make it black. Everything in color correction is mathematical operation. So black point here, because if we just go back, if I move around, you see that most values are between 0 and 0.2, 0.3, and that's 0.0. Say here you've got 0.3 in the red. It's not much. It's on the lower spectrum. That's why you see them here. That's what you see in here. The 1 is here. Most of stuff it happens closer to 0, right? So if I bring this, see what happens in here, see what happens in here. It's going to get sucked by the 0, by the blacks. I move it up and you see that the shape is getting sucked. And it doesn't care actually about what pixel. Just the moment a pixel turns into this value, 0. Up till this value, it gets sucked. It becomes black. Same story happens for the whites. So these two do opposite things. And these two do opposite things. One for black, one for white, one for black, one for white. Okay? So black point does this. So white point is going to be the same. If I do like this, you're going to notice that I am telling you every pixel that has a value of up till 0. Not up till, sorry. We're starting from the 1 here. With the black, you're starting from the 0. Anything between 0 and your value becomes black. But here for the white, you're going down from the 1. Anything between 1 and 0.6, make it white. Because most pixels happen lower, closer to the 0, I'm going to have to go way down for this to start becoming obvious. See? And in the histogram, you can see it's getting sucked towards the 1. The pixels are getting, it's like you're using a vacuum cleaner. It is getting sucked in the vacuum. And when you look at the waveform, everything is being evaporated up. Let's just get it going up. See? In here and in here. Okay? Okay, let me just go back to reset knobs and then don't forget to switch on my white clamp because it's not part of the defaults. Let's go down here. What is the lift? The lift does something quite interesting. The lift does not touch the absolute whites. Lifts everything up but leaves the absolute whites intact. Have you noticed in our shape here? It messes with everything that is around black, but the absolute whites stay put. They don't move. See, the shape changes, but the absolute whites don't change. Reset. Our gain does exactly the opposite, which generally tends to be referred to as the exposure. But in this case, it's exactly the opposite of what the lift does. The lift, I'll just switch on this one. The lift keeps the absolute whites intact and starts lifting up the blacks. The gain does something else. It leaves the blacks, the absolute blacks, intact, and it sucks. And it sucks. It lifts up all the other values, everything else. See? Okay. That is multiply is just a mathematical operation, multiplier. So it's a bit like multiplying what you have. Offset is quite interesting. Set stuff to default, and let's go back. Offset is quite interesting. It's the only parameter in here that does not care. It doesn't care about what, but all the others do care a little bit about the absolutes. Lift doesn't touch the absolute blacks. Was that it? Yeah, it doesn't touch the absolute whites. Sorry, the lift doesn't touch the absolute whites, and gain doesn't touch the absolute blacks. Offset just doesn't care. It just moves the whole thing up. Let me just come over here. It lifts everything. It moves the whole shape. Everything moves up. It doesn't care. So this, you're going to need to be careful with this because I'm talking about big value. I'm exaggerating here things. This isn't color grading. I'm just explaining to you how each one works and that actually some of them, if not most, if not actually all, are just changed with very, very small values. Set knobs to default. Okay, so what you're actually doing, you're lifting everything up. Don't do this for compressed footage, please, because when you're lifting the blacks up, even the absolute blacks up, and you have a compressed footage, there's no detail there to be revealed. When you have raw, there is some detail to be revealed. So if I bring this one down, the black is gone, but you got much more detail revealed on the whites. If I bring this one up, you can see more of the smoke here, the details on the smoke. It doesn't mean this is the right setting. All I'm saying is there are details in the raw file. but not in compressed ones. Yeah, set node to default, and then the gamma is the well-known gamma. What it does is quite simple. It moves everything from the middle. So these others move from the top, this one from the bottom, this one from, they move from the edges. This one just moves the whole thing. It doesn't care from where. And the gamma moves it from the middle. It kind of targets the midpoints. So what you're doing here, the shape, have you noticed, remains intact. It moves it from the middle. It's like a very gentle way of moving everything. That's why generally changing the gamma moves everything around. See? Let me just reset this and show you when you do this, the gain, it distorts the shape. I'm looking at the histogram. I'm using the histogram in this case. Lift the shape of our graph changes. The gamma stays as is. Yep. All right. So these are the main things to worry about in this node. Now we're going to move to another node. Color correct node in Nuke. How does that work? We're going to add one to see how it works. So color correct. Now this is one of the most used nodes, and in this case I am going to close one of these. Actually, I'm just going to close all of these except the waveform, because you get the point, right? You get how this stuff works. I'm going to close pane and close pane so that we can reveal a bit more of the goodness that this node has to offer. What is the difference between color correct and grade? One main thing. You're given the chance to act on your shadows, midtones, and highlights separately. This is the main bit. Otherwise, you have your gamma, your gain, your offset, your gamma, your contrast, your saturation. You have 5 things to work on. Either master, which basically means the footage, like everything, or you want to focus on the shadows, midtones, and highlights. What are shadows? What are midtones? And what are highlights? Well, sorry, I did not mean to define them in English for you because they are quite obvious. It's the definition, it's the mathematical definition that Nuke understands. Nuke is asking you this question. What is shadow? What are shadows? What are midtones and what are highlights? This is part of the node. This question is part of the node, and you may need not to answer it, then Nuke answers on your behalf. But you are given the chance to give an answer, and you do that in the tab ranges. This is where you yourself can define the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights separately. If you come over here with your cursor and you put it somewhere, it is going to tell you in those in the graph there where you are, whether you're in shadows, whether you are. Let me just come over here. This is mostly shadow. This is mostly shadow. Highlights. Let's come over here. This is a highlight. Yeah, we got into highlights. Okay, so these are shadows, these are midtones, and these are highlights. You can define them, and this is what I mean by define. So telling Nuke what is a shadow, what is a midtone, what is a highlight is something you can do. Let me just come over here and then press on the spacebar. The moment you press on the spacebar, you get the whole thing extended, and I can explain these better. This as a transition between your midtones, and midtones are the blue, midtones and your highlights. Right? So what you can do is define here using, okay, don't recommend going any lower than 0 because our range is from 0 to 1. We don't accept sober blacks and we do not accept super whites. So in this case, it's, why am I showing you this part? It's because you are given the choice. That's all. You can, at any moment in time, come over here and say, revert the changes made since this control panel was opened. And it goes back to the initial definition as it came shipped with Nuke. All right. So This is a choice you have. Now we go back to our shadows, midtones, and highlights, and you are given then the possibility to act on each one of them separately. Let's try to do that. Let me go press on the spacebar to bring in again our normal interface, and let's start tweaking some of this, right? Shall we get another frame? Let's get another frame. Yeah, let me get 2227, quite interesting. 2227. Got a bullet getting out. This is not a muzzle flare. This is not something that was added. This is real stuff. So this is a real weapon with real stuff getting out. Right, so let's now work with this. The saturation, okay, I don't need to explain this because this is like you're acting on your footage, right? So you're acting on the whole thing. You're not acting on highlights separately. Saturation is saturation. You saturate your footage. Contrast is quite obviously the contrast basically means you are making your blacks. You are reducing the distance between black and white. Sorry, you are increasing the difference between the blacks and whites. Your gamma is exactly what was explained in the grade node. The gain is the same, offset is exactly the same. You got the same things. The difference, as we said, is shadows, midtones, and highlights. So do yourself a favor, close that master, because chances are you're not going to be working with it too much unless you don't use the grade node, and then you say, okay, I'm going to do everything in here. Nice. Shadows. You can say, for example, okay, in our case, because I have not actually, this is ungraded footage, red raw ungraded footage. It hasn't even been tweaked using the raw material, the raw parameters, the red raw parameters that we have in here. This stuff, I haven't even tweaked it. I haven't changed anything, but it's just to show you what we have. So saturation, I can target the midtones and desaturate. Oh, because the bullet is, I think, from the highlights. Well, I can find that out. So I can go to ranges and I can go to my bullet stuff. Yeah, it is somewhere in the midtones, actually. This is midtones. All right, don't have too many highlights in here. Oh, yeah, because most of the because this is not. I didn't use the red thing because if I move to the native ISO, this is ISO 250. If I move to the native ISO, it's going to be brighter. Yes, now brighter. Let's keep it at that for now to work, and then I'll change it back again. By the way, if I do this, it changes the hard disk. Let me go back and see how does that impact our fellow thing. Ah, now the bullet is a highlight because I've just moved the ISO to 800. Okay, the bullet is a highlight. I'm not going to be able to target the bullet, right? So this is like, this is highlight, the sky is highlight. You've got a lot of highlights. This is more shadows. Yeah, and some midtones in here. This guy must be a midtone. This is going to be a bit closer to highlight. All right, you get the point. So now color correct in terms of, say, I would like to desaturate my highlights. And say I'm going to increase the contrast. Have you noticed what happens now to the bullet? Well, this is not realistic, but I'm telling you how you can target areas using their affiliation, I would say. Is it affiliated to highlights or to shadows or to midtones? I'm going to set this back and then increase or reduce the gain for the highlights. So this is how you target your. You can work on separate. You can work on them separately. Okay. Another node we would like to address in the color correction is the hue correct. Why would we use that? Hue correct. Here we go. Right. We can connect this one and connect it here to the viewer. I would like to get. I'll just get it as one. Get it as one. All right. The moment we have the hue correct, we get the properties for it in here. And what is this? Well, let me tell you first what it is generally used for, but it can also be used for any other purpose. All right. Hue correct is quite often used for removing the spill, the green screen spill on characters, on props, on vehicles. Something is glossy, something is shiny, something is reflective. You can target a particular color and act on it, desaturate it. That's why there is here a saturation, luminosity, red, green, blue. And then red, suppress, green, suppress, blue, suppress, and saturation threshold. All right. How does that work? We're not going to use it on a green screen because we leave the green screen for the keying, but we are going to be working on which footage should I work on? I think I'm going to work on this one instead. Yeah, let's work on this one instead. I'm going to connect this as number 1, and I'd like my hue to be connected here. Right, yeah, let's work with this one. And okay, number 1. Right, let me go back to a frame that has a little bit more interesting action in there. Right, something like this. Yeah, all right. Now that we have this frame, we can work on it. Let's say we would like to desaturate the blue of his jeans because it's standing out. The guy who's dead over here, acting dead, has got blue jeans, and with the whole thing, it doesn't really. Well, maybe you want to highlight it, but it's too much. I think the problem happens, we would like to highlight more what's going on in here instead of what's going on here, right? So let's target this. How do we do that? Have you noticed when we move our mouse that the indicator changes here? And it's because, well, it stopped here, not where we select. Say we click here, no, it doesn't work like that. You need to press Control and click. And not just click, you may click or you may select a particular area. I'm going to select part of his, sorry, shift control, and I'm going to select part of his jeans, part of his trousers. Okay, I've done that. Now what happens is we have this indicator stuck in this value, and we can now target this particular hue. All right, so what are we going to do? Say, for example, we would like to desaturate that. We are going to come over here, so it's this one over here. I'm going to push the points closer so that we have enough points to play with. I would like to have this one closer here as well, and then let's select this saturation and bring it way down. Now what happened? You see that a lot has been impacted. It's not just outer trousers, there's a lot, because these colors, neighboring colors, are also to be found somewhere elsewhere. So we're going to have to bring this a bit closer here, and bring this a bit closer. Sometimes it's a bit a pain to move this stuff. And you do have these side effects, shall I say. Have you noticed on the left that something is jumping over there? Well, just don't bother with that for now. I'm going to do what I need to do. I have just desaturated. I've kept most things, well, we say most, because this color does exist everywhere else. But I've kept most things as they are, and I have this side effect over here. Why did this one jump? Well, my point is not why, but actually just bringing it back where it was. That's it. Sometimes weird things happen, and we just need to make sure they are set back where they are. Right. All right. Let's just go back. I'm just press F. Hopefully, it's going to frame. Oh, it's framing on that one. No, I don't want it to frame there. Frame in general. All right. So I have now. I'm just moving it with the scroll wheel, pressing on the scroll wheel, and moving it around. I have desaturated. Have you noticed? Mostly 95% of the colors have stayed as they are, and then I've just desaturated this. This is a much better, artistically, this is much better to have, not to have actually, a color that is attracting too much attention when it's a detail. It's not about okay, it's about the dead man, actually. It's not really dead man, it's about the daughter of the dead man, but it's not about the trousers of the daughter of the dead man. So when a color is too bright, too saturated, we can desaturate that. And this is how you target things. Now, this you do when you have, for example, spill on green screen spill on a character, on the glasses of a character, on anything that is shiny, on the shoes of the character. You can target those the exact hue that you find on that object or on that character skin tone, whatever. So yeah, you can use it for display as well. Hue shift, and this one is quite fun to play with. Right, let's get this color. It's somewhere in here, and it is hue shift. It's this one. Okay, I'm gonna use another footage here. I'm gonna use this one, right, and probably get an interest in. Yeah, let's get this. Let's get these two guys shooting. Now, just before this all this, there are some guys that were shooting. Yes, yes, I'm trying to get you guys. Yes, that is it. Okay, let's just keep it at this. Okay, and it's about to shoot. I'll probably get them when they are going to shoot. All right, good. So now what do we want to do with this? We're going to bring our hue shift. Hue shift is quite fun. What does hue shift do? Actually, what would be quite interesting to see is applying it on the color wheel so you know what is going on. So that when you apply it on a footage, on an image sequence, you know what it does. It shifts the hue, yes, but what is the impact? So I recommend you come over here and you just press tab and you get yourself a color wheel. So it gives you the color wheel. We're going to press 2 to connect it, and we look at that. So okay, fine, let's come over here and press tab and get a hue shift connected to this one to see what it does before actually we start playing with our footage. Hue shift. Here we go. Now this hue shift bit, this is the color. Now I am going to use the rotation. I'm going to rotate. You've got lots of parameters in here, but one of the fun ones is rotation. And then you start seeing these things moving around. What used to be green is now another color. So it is rotating it around, rotating the hue. Let's have a look at this. Come over here, press and click 1 to see our footage. If I do the same thing, I'm going to get, what is going to happen is not distortion. It literally replacing colors based on color wheel, right? So let's do this. Right, just a little bit. And you see that our car is now turning purple. Now, of course, because the car is blue and the sky is blue, the sky is turning purple as well. Not really too much, it's pinkyish. This guy's jacket is brown. It's now turning green. So what is happening is literally we are shifting, just like we're doing it here. Hue rotation. So why am I not able to see it? Just double click. Yeah, because I'm working with the wrong one. So I had to double click on it. See, this is what happens. And you see your waveform is getting a bit crazy because this is one of the fun ways to play with this. But say you want something fantasy or dreams, you can play with the hue shift. There are some creative ways you can actually use this for, right? So and you've got other parameters in here that you can play with. You can reduce the overall saturation. You are acting directly on the color wheel behind the footage, right? So I am now, let me just go back to my footage number 1. If I go here, you need to make sure. I know you may try to practice the same way I'm doing it by opening a color wheel and then opening another hue shift. But please remember that I need to double click to load the right hue shift one, because this one, if it clicks in here and just click here, it doesn't change. Quite not user friendly from Nuke, but because I've just tweaked the wrong node. Okay, enough about this now. Let's so overall saturation, you are desaturating, you are acting on the source of the definition of colors. You are changing the definition of colors for the image instead of getting so yeah, you're acting on the color wheel behind the footage, and you can have a lot of fun with this. Anyway, yeah, has become reddish now. Cool. You can play with this the way you want, but it's one of the fun ways you can. I mean, you can even target it using the roto, the mask. You can target a certain area, certain thing, a certain car, a certain character. You can target a sky. You can target and use the hue shift for that. So this is one of the lovely nodes in the color correction of Nuke. The roto node in Nuke, how does that work? Okay, we're going to select our footage and we're going to come and click and press on tab and get roto, right? There are two nodes, there's roto and roto paint. Roto paint we're going to discuss later. For now, we're going to talk about the roto. All right, it doesn't need to be connected, by the way. It does not need to be connected to background for you to work with it. You can work with it without any connection. Let me just say, for example, I'm going to remove this one and we're going to have this as number one. We can still work with it as if it's, even if it's isolated like this. When you bring it in, you get these tools in here. So you have this. This is actually, it's just a selection. Select what would you like to select. Now, we can't select splice points where we don't have anything, we didn't draw anything yet. So this is for selection purposes. This is for adding things. Yeah, so this is add point, remove point. Actually, it would have made a little bit more sense to have this one first on top here, because that's the sequence of events. Number one, you would have draw things, and once you draw them, then you decide to select them, and once you select them, then you decide probably to add or remove. So I think that's a more user-friendly thing. But anyway, that's what I think about the stuff. But anyway, so this is first start with here, the second one. You need to draw it, and generally it tends to be, I mean, depending on the shape. So we say, for example, we want to target what? This, well, this door in front of us, this door damaged with bullets. We are going to go with a Bezier. Cusp Bezier means, well, cusp Bezier, so something like this. It has cusped edges, right? So the beauty is that every time you draw something, you have on the right here, whatever you have worked on. So you can delete it, minus, okay? Or press delete once you select. I prefer to go with my Bezier, right? You got all sorts of rectangle, ellipse, whatever you want to select. I mean, it's a normal roto node. It's a normal selection drawing thing. You would find it in Photoshop, you find it in After Effects, you find it in all sorts of applications. It's the same thing. So let's now target, let me just remove this one, and let's target this door. Yeah? We're going to do it with the Bezier. Bezier, opacity 1, fine, yeah, or yeah, that's fine, that's okay. We can just start drawing here. Well, as you can guess, I'm not going to spend too much time doing that because it's not what you want me to be doing, but you want me to show you what else you can do. And that's not really great. Well, that's actually a good opportunity to add another point, because I'd like to probably add another point here. Good. All right, let's go add another point. Add point. And we come over here and we add that point in here because it's a Bezier, so we get it as a Bezier. You can at any time change any one of these points. Let me zoom in. You can change any one of these points to something else. Say, for example, this one needs to be sharper than this. You just right click and say cusp desmooth. So this is now cusp and then or smooth. Okay, you just right click on it. Good. Okay, this part is quite simple. Yeah, so it's not something we want to spend too much time explaining. You can select your stuff, but what the options that you have actually are quite cool. Where did we start drawing? We started here. Okay, in case you want to open close the curve, if you want to open it, you just select this bit and click anywhere on any point. It's going to open where you have started. I'm going to click here. It has opened this bit. Yes, it has this one selected. It's a bit misleading, but it has opened this one. Now, if I click here again, it's going to close this one. Anywhere it looks at the shape as one shape. It doesn't matter where you click, but if you prefer to have it open, actually it could have worked like just having, let me just delete this one. Just a better example would be to go and draw a Bezier starting from here. Yeah, something like this. That's going to be fast. And we say, okay, fine, I'm okay with that. I'm going to close it. And then say, no, actually, you know what? Let's move this a bit down here. And we don't bother with it closed. So let's reopen selection, sorry. It's in here. Open, close. I'm just going to click anywhere and it's going to open my door from beneath here. Okay, so you get the point. So the first one is for selection. And so selecting what? Would you like to select points, splines, feather points? It is a nice time now to talk about the feather points because we already have our. So let me close the shape because I prefer to have my shapes closed. Right, I'm going to close this shape. Oh, clicked again, sorry. Let's select all. Okay. Nice. Okay, how do we get the feather? Because we have in the options for this, have you noticed it's not even connected? You can work with it completely not connected. And then when you need, you can connect it to whatever you want. Okay, you can connect it to the background and then add some mask or whatever. It's as you like. We have the feather here, but the feather is 0. So how about we increase it? Well, but we can't see anything. Why? Because you need to create the feather manually by dragging those points slightly where you want them to be. Okay, so let me bring it back to 0 here. Or you could, no, don't do that. If you right click and say set nobs to default, it's going to remove this Bezier drawing as well. It brings it back to default programming factory CD state where you just got it new. It's like this node is going to be reset back to where it came from, to the foundry. Yeah. So you're going to lose your drawing here. So yeah, this is right. So we're talking about feather. Now, if we want to feather somewhere, let me just make this one a smooth. Right. Let's assume you want to catch a little bit more. So what you need to do, every time you select, you see that handle. Right, okay. Now, you don't need to do anything than actually press Control. Just press Control and move it up. Now you get that feather area. All right? So, yeah, but where's the feather? I can't see anything. Well, you cannot see anything because we are not we don't have viewer. I mean, it's not viewing. This roto is like just floating around. Let's have it as number 2, for example. And let's get the alpha. Okay. I'm just scrolling back. Let's H. Okay. I'm going to set this. All right. So this is our feather over here. And you can see that you can not increase, you can just make it bigger or smaller, right? So this value here of the feather, if you increase it, you're going to get more of it, even beyond the boundaries, or less of it, right? That's how much feather, not just the boundaries, okay? And then you can play with opacity and fallout. The fallout is like slowly fading out. It's the transition. It's making the transition smoother of the feather, right? Okay, so that was one, I guess. Yeah. Let's now go back to our viewer one, and we're going to press H, and we can't see anything. Why? Because we are still under alpha, and that video, that footage does not have any alpha. We go back to RGB, and here we see our stuff, our soldiers, and our door. Good. Okay, so this is about the feather. What else would we need to talk about? You can remove the feather. You can move the feather because you can select it. What we're going to do now is go and select feather points. I'm going to come over here, and then when you select now, what happened is that you have selected the feather point. When I'm going to move, the drawing is not going to move, but the feather point is going to move. See, let me go back to my number 2 in the viewer, and let's go get the alpha, and let's press H. Okay, it's a little bit off here. It is a little bit off. Let me just move it a bit. Actually, this is a 2K. The problem lies in the fact that, yes, okay, why do we have this problem? We have this problem because this is 2K, whereas this footage is 4K. But why is this 2K? Who defined this for us? This is 2K Super 35. This is the default that you get with Nuke. When you open Nuke for the first time, you get default. Where do we get that? You go here and then just like have your mouse on the node graph, and then you press S. Then it gives you the settings. And here you find full size format. And this is the format of your, this is the default that comes with Nuke. If you don't change it, that's what you have. We don't want this. We have 4K DCP. So now I've changed it to 4K DCP. I'm able to see my stuff in the right place, right? Now I can see that I am able to move those points that they have moved. Actually, it used to be here. Now they have moved. Let me just move them again for you. I can't see it again because I'm an A alpha. Sorry. I'm going to select the roto and come over here, select the Bezier, and come over here, and then where's the selection? Oh, it's the selection. It's the selection one. Select feather points, and here we go. You can move them up. We're just exaggerating things so that you see how much control you have once you go back in here and you move it back to the alpha. Okay, the feather points. Here you go. Okay, so this is how much control you have. You're able to select either the splines themselves, move the points. Points meaning the points of what you have. What you have, your drawing is what you have put in there. These are the original ones. You're not going to move your feather points if you select these. Let's say select. Okay, I'm going to select all of this and move it around. You don't move the feather ones. You just move the points that you have initially in your drawing. All right, now we're going back to our footage here, and we go to our RGB, press H to frame the whole thing without borders, and I am going to, okay, here is you have the same thing. It's whether you want to click on a point, actually, because I have it, oh, by the way, I have this one removed, okay? It is on remove point. So you can add point or remove point, and you can come over here, and then when you click on it, it gets removed. I have just clicked on control, pressed Control Z twice so that I have undone 2 operations. And what you can also do is, which you have here, you can right click on it and say cusp. So it makes it sharp in here, sharp edge. Same thing in here. You can make smooth, or what? You need to select first, then press, and then you get it smooth, right? I want, say, for example, this one to be sharp. So you get select cusp points, and then you press on this one and it becomes a cusp point. Okay, so this is your roto node. Roto paint in Nuke. Let me first import with the read node a footage, and I'm going actually to import 2 instances of it. And I'll tell you why. Because for the roto paint, there's something cool we're going to do. All right, so let's go to frame 884, which is the last frame. Okay, so because this one, if we double click on it, it's 884. I am going, okay, I'm going to keep this one for later. Well, I'm going to keep this one for later. But for now, I can go to this frame, for example. Yeah, let me connect this as number 1. And let's come over here. Right, okay. Using F again, we frame it. Using H, we remove the borders up and down. Actually, you could bring this one a little further down if you want. Like this, because we're not going to be using a lot. We're just going to be using 1 node, and that's Roto Paint. Roto Paint. Click on that. You can, actually what I could have done is, okay, I don't need to do that, but you can use the Roto Paint disconnected from any footage and then connected when you want to show the result. Yeah, you can work with that. The moment you get it in there, you get this stuff in here, all this goodness, all right? And you've got more things in here, right? So you can work with it disconnected, but I will work with it connected, okay? Because I would like to have the result reflected immediately, and I want to show you what it looks like, okay? So Roto Paint, it is connected now, so that when we do something, we can see it immediately in the viewer. Good. And actually, even when not connected to the background, you can see it because you're working directly in here. All right, so Roto Paint, what is different compared to Roto Node? You have the same things, by the way. So you come over here, got Bezier, you got all the selection tools in here. What you have additional, so it has everything, plus you've got this lovely stuff over here, brush eraser, and some fun things here, clone and reveal. And there's even more fun here, blur, sharpen, smear, and some truly fun stuff, dodge and burn. But let's start from the beginning. Beginning as in here, I'm going to focus on these 3 because this is stuff we've already worked with in the Roto node. Now we're going to go to the brush. So what is this brush? It's basically, it's a selection. It's a brush in here, like you click and then you get a brush. I'm going to put it on, you see there's a small circle. You can adjust that just the way you have it in Photoshop, just opacity, size, hardness. I'm going to have a 500 on this one, just so you see. Now it's big, it's really big. I'm exaggerating so that you're able to see what we're doing, right? And I'm going to do some crazy things just so you see that what you can do with it, right? So there's the hardness, and then there's the size and the opacity. All right, so what do we do with that? We paint. Okay, so you can paint something, and then you immediately have, by the way, something important is that when you work, it defaults to single frame. So basically everything you're doing now is single. Does it mean that you need to redo the work again to go back to the whole duration of the movie or the image sequences? No, it's just you come over here, brush 1, because I've done it twice. The moment you release the brush, it's one brush. It's one line here. So you've got it here in the root. You've got brush 1, you come to lifetime and you change it to all frames. And this way it just becomes all frames instead of 1. But every time you select, you get it. Oh, by the way, if you want, okay, this one, I think it's too random. Let me just paint something. Let me paint. Okay, I could, yeah. Okay, let me just paint them. For let's say we're gonna do something about these soldiers. Okay. It's yeah, it's big, I know. But I'm just exaggerating to tell you, just to show things in the recording. Otherwise, if I make something too tiny, you may not be able to see. So that is all Even if I say all, actually, it doesn't change much for this one because it's still single frame. It says all for the next one. So I need to go back here and say all frame. All right, so if I move here, or here, or here, it's the same thing. Okay, it stays. All right, so this is for the paint brush when you paint with it, and then you can change the color of what we've used. Okay, because this one was first, I'm going to just delete it so that you see the other ones. You can change the color, red, for example. You can change this one to say whatever, blue, just for visibility. You can lock it if you want, or unlock. All right, so this is for the paint, and then we have eraser. You can erase. Well, of course, it's a bit annoying because it goes back to all. It goes back to 25, and so okay. So this is the paint brush. Now let's move to the next one. This clone thingy is where you want to clone something. Well, that's obvious. How does it work? Let's go back here and we're going to click on clone. It goes back to default. Let's go to all. I'm going to clone this guy. I'm going to clone this guy. And what I'd like to do is, I don't know, something like 250. Probably, is that enough for him? Could be. Yeah, could be. All right, well, there are shadows, but we've got a problem with that. But I'm just showing you what you can do with it, right? So how do you do that? You just click Control and then drag where you want and then release. And then you can start painting, which basically means duplicating, cloning the guy, right? That's a nice one for some applications. I mean, depends on what you want to do. You're not going to duplicate the person itself, but I mean, you can if this is what you are, what you're after. But you could duplicate a sign, you could duplicate a car, you could duplicate all sorts of things. That is, let me see, we're acting here with all. So basically, if I come over here, yes, I'm just moving back in the timeline. It is, hold on a moment, system 1. Right. Yes, it's working. It's working. So this kid is looking here now, and then it's going to be looking somewhere else. So yeah, I'm not moving too much in the frames because they are going to start running at some point in time. Well, here they've disappeared already. They run away. But you get the point, right? You're able to clone something. This is the clone brush, and this is how it works. You select. You point and then you click and then press Control and then you drag to where you want it and then you start cloning. Right, so this is the clone brush. The other one, the other fun part is going to be the reveal. Now, what we have actually done now is we have cloned this guy. How about removing him completely from there? And we are going to do that by using the reveal. So I'm going to come here to this footage and it says frame range 8840. I know that frame 884 is empty. That's like the empty plate, right? There's nothing in there. It's the exact same frame. The camera has not moved, and I'm freezing it on the last frame. So basically, I'm only importing one frame, and I'm going to use it as a background. What I'm going to do, yes, you guessed it, reveal. I'm going to erase this guy. Not really erase him, looking to rotoscope the guy and then try. It's literally just revealing the plate from behind what I'm going to paint, right? How are we going to do that? Number one, let's go back to our roto paint and remove the clone. Remove all of this. Let me see, why is it not removing it? Because I didn't press on delete, I pressed on another button. Okay. we could do this way. Just click on minus, minus until it goes away. This one is locked, by the way. Ah, this one is not. See, because I remember I've locked this one, so you can't remove it. You need to unlock it first, and then you remove that. Good. So let's do that. You see, let me now. Oh, by the way, I may have already said that or not, but it's in terms of interface. If you want to expand one of those three components, the viewport, node graph, or the properties, you just click and then press spacebar. Press spacebar and then you get this. What I'm going to do is something quite simple. The background, this Roto Paint accepts more backgrounds than one. So this is why you have also the option, when you come over here, background 1. Now, for us, this is going to be the background of this. Let me go back with spacebar, and then we're just going to press F to frame all of this in the node graph, and we're going to start the fun of removing this guy. How do we do that? By revealing. You're going to reveal something behind him. I'm going to reveal, and then I get here all frames, and I get my lovely 500. Is it 500? Should we go with 250? Okay, let's do 250 size. And so what I have, this, I'm going to show you directly this one by, yeah, I click here and I say, and I press on 2. This is the clean plate, right? So let me come over here and press 1 and 2 every time. 1, 2, 1, 2. You get the point? So the camera has not really moved much. You can see there's a tiny movement there, like a few pixels. But for the purposes of our practice, it's not really a big deal because I would like to use this background. So let me do that, and I'll just remove this too. The revealing is quite simple. You just paint over the guy to reveal the plate behind him. And because we have it on all frames, in all frames, he's not going to be there. Well, got a little problem with his shadow. We're going to take away that one as well. Probably with a less, not that big. Something like this. Well, you get the point. I'm not going to do something perfect here, but I am going to remove his shadow. All right. This is then, if I move back here, or here, because the guy is quite static, these are static, and that was part of the what they needed to do. I then have, I'm moving through the frames now, and you see that the guy is gone completely because I am revealing the plate behind him. This is one of the beauties of the use of reveal. Reveal, you could use it for any other purposes, actually. You could color grade, say, for example, this child differently, and in a different footage, in the background footage, and reveal just that part, just his part, so that he looks different. But then you think, what would you do that? Would you just target him with a mask? So yeah, you have options, but you're only limited by your creativity. This is then our lovely reveal. So what do we need to do? Sorry, what other things do we have here? What other goodness do we have here? We have the blur. Well, it does what it says. It's a bit annoying when it goes every time to the default. All 20, so blur, I'm going to blur this guy. Why am I always working on this guy? I don't know, because there's one in front of me. Okay. So this is blur, and then you can change the settings to your liking, the hardness and everything. The effect, let me just see, effect is 50, for example. That's too much, and then 2, whatever. I'm just playing around here, right? So just show you what you can do with it. That's the blur, and then you have the sharpen, which is the opposite, of course. So that's going to be, go with 500. I'm going to sharpen this guy. He looks way more different than the others. Now, can you see that? See? Let me sharpen this guy as well. Then come sharpen this guy. I'll probably sharpen my guy over here. I've already messed him up with the blur too much. Can't sharpen that much. Okay, good. Let's go back. I just pressed the space bar to increase the size of the viewport. Okay. Now we are going to move to the next. Let me just delete all this stuff over here. Next one is smear. Now, it's got an artistic touch. You use it whenever you think whenever there's a need for it, but it smears. It does what it says. It's like it smears, right? So this is what smear does. Now I'm just ruined this guy again. Anyway, so this is your smear brush, and let me see. The next one is going to be, we've done this. The last, dodge. Okay, these are a little bit opposite. Dodge is going to give you a very bright. Okay, let me just show you instead of just explain by words. So let's go 500 this time. And you don't need to have always an opacity of 1. You can go, and especially in this case, you're probably going to go with 0.01. Oh, sorry, 0.05. And it gives you a light, you're making it lighter. Let me give you the exaggerated one first to see what it looks like. This is what it looks like. That's uglier. And then now, let's go back to, oh, am I still, yeah, I'm still at opacity 1, 0.05. And probably you want to, I mean, I'm not going to do that. This is not for color correction purposes. I mean, for stuff like this, you may just target something. Because if you are going to color correct, you need to track it, and I'm just showing you what kind of color it gives. Right? And then when it comes to, let's delete my paintings here. The last one is quite interesting. Burn. Burn at default value could look a bit weird. If you do like this, it's going to look weird. But if you play with it at very low values, it can give you something interesting. Green screen keying in Nuke Studio. Okay, on the left here we have the tools and we have the keyer tab. We have a few keyer options: primer, key light, ultimate. You've got also the IBK gizmo and IBK color, the duo that works with the image-based keying. Okay, now which choice are we going to have? Because I want to get Nuke a little bit closer to the users of After Effects, I'm going to use key light, okay? But hold on a moment. Generally, when we make, when we have green screen keying, we use several keyers and we ask each one of them to take care of a particular aspect of the image, right? And this is exactly what we're going to do. But we're going to do it twice with key light. So we're going to combine two keyers, both of them key lights. One of them is going to take care of one aspect and the other one is going to take care of the other aspect. Well, generally, what kind of aspects do we care about? When we want to split, there are different things you want to worry about in terms of splitting your image, but generally, you tend to care more about the split core edge, okay? So the core matte and the edges require different approaches, so you cannot do it with the same keyer, all right? If you can try, you're going to end up with something you don't want to see, right? Because it's a compromise. You're hurting the matte, the core matte, and you're hurting the edges. That's the final result. So why don't you just get yourself two keyers, even if it's the same, and that's what we're gonna do. Let me just bring them now. Key light, that's number 1, and let me bring key light number 2. Right, okay. I'll just increase this a little bit, and we get key light number 1, key light number 2. This one, number 1, is going to take care of the core matte. The core matte is important because we should not have any transparency in there. What does that mean? The approach that key light 1 is going to take is going to be quite drastic. It is not going to care about the edges. Actually, it's going even to remove the edges because we should not worry about the edges when we're working on the core matte. Now, key light number 2 has another task. It's only the edges. Only the edges, nothing else. Even if key light number 2 sees transparency in the core matte, it doesn't care because it focuses exclusively on the edges. So this one is exclusively core matte, exclusively edges. Where you add them together, you get what?
you get a beautiful matte with the edges and the core together. Okay, let's do that. But the approach is an advice, is going to be different, actually contradictory. So the approach for key light number one is contradictory with the approach in here. So whatever I advise you here for this one should in no circumstance whatsoever be applied to number two. And whatever advice you hear for key light number two should in no circumstance whatsoever be applied to key light number one. We are talking about two extremes. All right, so let's start with key light number one. And I'm going to do something drastic here. So let's just connect the source and then press 1 to get the key light bit. Okay, where is key light? Between brackets, please, when you're working with two keyers that are of the same family, I've got key light number one and key light number two. The last one you add is the last one, is the one that has the properties open. Now you see that I have this one selected in here and I was about to start tweaking, but then hold on a moment, this is key light number one and this here says key light number two. So I want you to get in the habit of closing completely the properties and reopening. Yes, it looks like an additional step, but it's way safer than tweaking all the stuff and then realize that you've just been working on the wrong keyer, okay? Because the node graph, the properties, and the viewer are independent from each other. When you select something here, it doesn't update here, and it doesn't update here, okay? So it gives you flexibility, but at the same time, you need to be careful with that. I close the brackets, and then I go back to my drastic approach for key lights. I'm going to start with something that generally is advised not to do. But let's first select the color. Okay, you click on this color picker and you do what? You press Control and click. Now, you can keep clicking, but what I'll do now is just release. I don't want you to get in the habit of just click somewhere. That's not how we do it. We don't click somewhere, just like that. We need to do it, we need to click knowing what we need. So because keying works with alpha, let me switch to alpha. How did I do that? I just pressed A on the keyboard, or you can come here and select the alpha. Okay, instead of RGB, you just select the alpha. Okay, good. All right, what do we have? Oh, sorry, this one, alpha. So instead of the RGB, the alpha. Okay. What do we have now? So this is the selection that we have made. Now, I did not make this selection. Actually, I just wanted to activate the alpha, right? What happened? But it's really good to see. Let me just increase this one so that we see. I know it's not a high resolution thing, it's just a thumbnail, but it helps to understand. You see that I have chosen, okay, clearly the footage that I've chosen is of very bad quality. It's a stock footage, and this has 5 phenomenal mistakes. This footage has 5 phenomenal mistakes. Well, you know what? Let's talk about them quickly, and then we come back to our keyer. Let me reset this keyer here and go back to the RGB. Very quickly, phenomenal mistakes in this one. It's a stock footage. It's not our project, so I've just chosen this one to show you how hard it is when you make such mistakes. Number 1, it's not evenly lit, right? Number 2, the actors are too close to the green screen. You should have a few meters away from the green screen to avoid what? To avoid the spill, but also to avoid the shadows. So what is this? You got shadows on, unless your intention is to replace this green screen with a 3D wall or something, and then you want to have these shadows. That's a different story. But still, when you are using a keyer that is different than IBK, and you don't have your own clean plate, then you're losing the shadows anyway. Okay, number 3, we talked about the first one, the lighting, but now the lighting for the actors is poor because they're using the same lighting for the green screen as for the actors. They don't have separate lighting because they are so close to the green screen, right? So normally it should be far enough, and then the green screen is lit separately. Yeah, the lights you use for green screen are not the ones that you're going to use for your actors. You could even have different temperatures on the lights, that you go with cooler for the green screen and warmer for the actors. But you need to have different lighting. So this is number 3. Number 4 is, what was number 4? Number 4 is the compression. This footage is of rubbish quality. It is H.264. VFX, green screen, keying, the biggest enemy of VFX and green screen keying is compression. So when you're shooting, please use raw or ProRes high quality stuff. Don't go any lower than 4 to 10 bits. Don't go any lower than 4 to 10 bits. Okay, and there's another fifth mistake. I don't remember. Yeah, the fifth mistake. There are no tracking markers. There are no tracking markers. But okay, we have closed now the square bracket for the bracket for the 5 mistakes. But the idea is that I'm showing you and demonstrating a technique, robust technique for rubbish quality video. But this is not an excuse that during your filming you're going to come with rubbish quality. Okay, during filming you are going to make sure that you have something of great quality, because compression is losing color information and keying is all about color. Okay, right, let's come back here and do again our lovely color picker control selector. I'll just do that one more time. Control and then select. Okay, you press Control and you press on the color picker and then press in here. When I select a light, I'm just press A again. This is okay because it's not evenly lit and it's poorly lit actually, not just evenly. It's the light. There's only one light here. We can see that it's bright here and it's less bright here and it's less bright here. There are no lights on the right, no lights on the left. It's the exact typical mistake you don't want to make, but it helps us understand a few things. Yeah, when we work on footage that is full of mistakes, it helps us understand a few things. What did I select? I've selected the light green. When I select a light green, it selects what? The light green. Okay, now it sounds like it's logical, but hold on a moment. Let me go back and let me try something else. This is dark, right? Okay, let me come back and select this dark one. Just on a moment, Control, and I'm going to select this one. One more time. Okay, let me select this and press A. Right, what just happened? Now, when I select a dark green, it tends to include with it the light greens. Okay, so light green or saturated does not include dark unsaturated, but dark unsaturated, once selected, does include light and saturated. But of course, and when we selected here, we have just selected one flavor of the green and we still have some noise. Okay, so let's go back now and say which one should we choose. So what do we have? We have here, just a moment, one more time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come to the darkest. To the darkest green I have. I think it's somewhere. All right, when I do that, I have selected most of the greens, but I still have some noise in here, right? Still have some noise. So I'm going to go to the advice number 1, which is opposite all advice you've heard so far. Generally, I advise not to go too far with the screen gain. Okay, screen gain is going to clean this black, but actually you should do that with what? With the clip black. What I'm going to do is do exactly the opposite and go and exaggerate this one. Let's go with, I'll just increase it here. Increase the screen gain to the point where it becomes crazy. Right, okay, so I've got here like 1.17, which is enormous. You should never go anywhere more than 1.03, 1.05 to the maximum. But in this case, it's a different approach. What did we say? Key light number 1 does not care about the edges. And what happens when you increase screen gain? It gives you clean black, which actually you should have worked on using the clip black, but it gives you clean black, but it hurts your edges a lot. Key light number 1, by coincidence, happens not to care about those edges. Okay, so we move down here to the next parameter that we're going to tweak, and this is what? This is the clip white, because we need to have this solid matte. Now, what is the mission, the reason of existence? What's the task of key light 1? Is to make sure that this is solid. So this is completely unacceptable. Having here his shirt with light grays that are transparent. This is absolutely the mission of key light number one is to give us a solid white. Not care about edges, yes, but solid white. So we're going to go to clip white. There's clip black, which cleans the blacks, and clip white, which cleans the whites. Now, what does it really do in the background? Because I need you to understand mathematically what happens. Not really that I'm asking you to understand the mathematics behind it, but what are you really doing when you're pushing these sliders? What are you really doing? Now, you notice this, there's a number here, black and there's 0, and then white and there's 1. Why? Because black is 0 and white is 1. What does that mean? This pixel over here, if I just stand somewhere, this pixel over here is 0, right? If I go here, these are whites, this is white, okay? So these are zeros and these are whites. If I then start going down from 1, this is 1, these pixels are 1, okay? So I just want to mention 0 and 1. 1 means if I bring this one a little down, what am I actually doing? I'm asking Nuke to go down to the pixels that have a value of, say, okay, let me stop at 0.8. Value of 0.8. What is 0.8? It's light gray. It's the gray that's closer to the white. It's the gray that's closer to the 1. I'm asking Nuke to go down from the 1 and go searching for those light grays that are close to the 1 and convert them into 1. So anything between 1 and 0.8, bring it down, 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 until I don't care. I just need it to be all white. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to exaggerate, but all I need is all white. That's it. Now, we have gone way far, but not way too far. We need it. We're going to keep it. Fine. Now, we're going to find, can you see here? This rubbish stuff over here. Okay, this needs to be cleaned, but I'm not saying cleaning as in the edges. I'm saying cleaning as in the board, the background. Now, this part of the edge I don't care about, but I do care about this one, which is floating in the background, because this is going to cause a problem. This is not edge, because it's disconnected from the edge. This is edge. I don't care about it. Okay, so we're going to need to clean. Come over here. Can you see this? This is a problem. This is a problem. This is why we said when we increased green screen gain, maybe it was not enough, but it's a good opportunity to use another parameter, which is clip black, and we're going to do it right now. Okay, let's first make sure that our clip white is working properly. What are these things? I press on A. These are reflective objects, and yes, even if you are far from what this one is even worse, very close to the green screen, but even if you're far from the green screen, reflective objects do reflect, even if it's far. So if you have shiny shoes, if the actor has shiny shoes, it is going to reflect. Even if you're 4 meters away, it is going to reflect. Okay, so what is this stuff? This happens to be in the edges, so I do care, but not so much because it's in the edges. I can help a little bit like this, but for the rest, that's it. Anything closer to the edges, we have gone way far. But then I genuinely do not care, because key light number one, okay, key light number one doesn't care, because the edges are, so now what I've done is really, can you look at these edges? They look horrible. But guess what? We just don't care, right? Because we care about the core matte. This looks solid. This is good. Now, this is, no, when I increase the whites, I have started converting this. Well, with this, where does this one come from? Where did it come from? Because we thought we cleaned the black. There's a trick, actually, to see if you've really cleaned the black or not. You're going to activate this Y, which is toggle the gamma. And then when you start increasing it, you'll be able to see that actually you have not, okay, this we should have done actually even earlier, so that I could, but now this is all what's left because we've killed all the other grays. This is one way, which is like just to increase the gamma to be able to see what you have. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's do it one more time. So I'm going to reset all of this stuff because I need you to be able to work with this one. I'll just go back to normal gamma. Let me just select. I'm going to select the same thing just quickly. There we go. And select. Right, something like this. And we go back to the alpha. And we said we have increased the gain. The screen gain until it has become crazy. And we said, okay, yeah, probably it's clean. Wait, hold on a moment. Is it really clean? This is why I said probably it's good to have a look at the Y in here. And when you start increasing it, you could end up with some nasty things in here. But in this case, 1.21, because last time I've stopped at 17, right? But now it's like I've cleaned it all. Okay, this is what you may end up not seeing if you don't. Okay, let me just show you the example. 1 to 11, something like this. This gives you the impression. Okay, this one, 1.17 gives you the impression it's gone. But when I click on Y and I increase the gamma, I can see there's still some stuff there. So this is a trick if you want to see if it's cleaned or not. Okay, so let's go back now and we're going to, yeah, it's a good opportunity to work on the clip blacks. But now let's bring in the whites again. Where were they? Where were they? Here. Okay, and then we increase the black. But what does that mean? Black, same story, same story. What do I have here? These pixels are here. Black, which is 0. I have light grays, darker grays in here. But these are not 0. I am going to increase this a little, which basically means I'm asking Nuke to go to pixels that have 0.06 as a value and convert them into 0, make them black. Okay, so I have now taken care of this. Let me just go back to my whites and make sure they are really, really, really white. Cool. Okay, those edges are edges we don't worry about. Now, I really have very, very nasty edges, but that is not a problem. Okay, this is done now. And then you think, whoa, hold on a moment. You can't do this. Of course I can, because this is Keylight 1. It has worked on the alpha, on the core mat. It has given us core mat. That's it. The game is over. It needs now to give this information to Keylight number 2 to work on the edges. Now, Keylight number 2 is going to work on the edges independently, taking it from the source, but the alpha, it will take it later. Okay, but before we proceed any further, there's something else that needs to be done. Okay, when it comes to giving this alpha, this is not clean. This, yes, it has given us a clear core mat, but we are not going to give the rubbish edges to Keylight number 2. We need to remove the edges. So step number 1 is get yourself a solid core mat. Step number 2, because it's not Keylight's business, the edges, and it has ruined them, it needs to remove them. What does remove edges mean? Okay, we come here, down, and there's something called screen dilate. Okay? Now, screen dilate is dilate and erode, which is like matte choker, if you're familiar in After Effects, matte choker. Dilate is inflate, and the opposite of dilate is erode, which basically means if I go down, that is eroding, that's not dilating. So let me show you. If I bring it down, I'm just eroding the mat. I shouldn't be doing this. This is not taking off edges. This is taking a lot of your core mat. Let me go back to 0, and then we're going just to remove the nasty parts. Okay? Nasty. Okay, hold on. I've got some floating pixels here. I don't like this. Floating pixels means I need to go a little bit higher with my screen gain. Good. Right, I like this. Much better. 1.21. Yeah, it was the magic number. Okay, cool. See these edges? We don't want them. What I'm going to do is erode. Don't go off board, please, with eroding. Yes, we need to remove the edges, but sometimes you hear people saying -10, -30. That is not going to help you. That is not going to help you. You need just to remove those nasty edges. What's an edge? It is an edge. It can't be 30%. An edge is not 30%. So you don't want to go any higher than -3. Sorry, any lower, which basically means don't push further to the left any lower than -3. Let me see. -2. I may have some nasty things in there. So let's make it -3. Let's make it -3. -2.5. Okay, nice. What have I done? I have removed, okay, -3. I have removed the edges. I have core mat. Now it looks ugly in the edges because that's not what we care about. We just care about the core mat. Now the edge is something that the other one is going to have to work on. Cool, this is done. Step number 2. Under step number 3, which is it needs now to give that information to key light number 2. How does it do that? Simple. Have you noticed? You remember there are a few advice pieces that you hear about key light, and one of them is you should never work with the final result. We didn't even care about this when we were working, did we? We didn't care. We didn't care about the edges. We didn't care about the final result. We didn't care about the screen gain. We just increase it like hell. We did whatever we wanted because the approach is quite simple. Give me a core matte, period. All advice you've heard so far does not apply. Give me the core matte and that's it. But when it comes to moving the matte to another keyer, yes, you need to change from final to intermediate only because you need to pass it over. All right? Yes, when you work on the key light number 2, you're going to work on the intermediate. But actually, you're going to work on different ones as well. But for the first one, we didn't care. We don't care. We do now. We finished work. We need to pass that information. We need to select intermediate result. Okay? Not for key light 1, but to pass the information to key light number 2. Okay. Now that we have finished this part, let's come back and select what? Select source and connect it. What happens actually when we do this? When we click View Intermediate Result and we connect the source to the key light here, let me just come over here and press 1 and go back to, oh, that's really nice. This white is really nice, exactly what I wanted to explain. Okay, what happened when we connected the source? Did we not pass the information of the alpha? Well, we've just spent quite some time working on our matte and we have an alpha. We have removed, yes, without the edges, but we have an alpha. Where is it gone? It is in a waiting room. You can look at it that way. You can think of it that way. It's in a waiting room. Why is it in a waiting room? Because key light number 2 has never acknowledged receipt of any matte. For a simple reason that you don't only change the parameters in key light number 1. You need to change the parameters in key light number 2 as well so that it gets it. It's not just about giving, it's giving and receiving. The giving parameters we've tweaked in key light number 1, but the receiving parameters have not been set in key light number 2. So what happens? It's somewhere in between. It is in a waiting room. Okay, it is there, available for use, as long as we change the parameters in key light number 2. Okay, so it is in the waiting room. We don't care now about this one, what we got from key light number 1. Leave it in the waiting room. We're going to work on that later. We'll come back here, press A, and we are going to do the work as if we started from scratch, because we need to start from scratch. Why? We're going to work on the edges and only on the edges. All right, so now I'm going to close, get in the habit of closing, because otherwise I'm going to start tweaking your key light number 1 and ruining it. Close, double click, and now we're going to start working. Again, as if we've never worked on key light number 1. Keep control pressed. And we're going to select what? Not the dark greens, but now somewhere softer, somewhere like a little bit here. Okay, let me go to the A. This is a good start. Why? When you select the dark greens, we said that you hurt the edges. The cleaner your black, the more you hurt your edges. That's a rule. So we don't want to start from the beginning by hurting the edges, because key light number 2 only cares about the edges. This is why we need to go a little bit softer. Go for an intermediate value where you think, I have a lot of noise. That's a good news. You start and you see you got a lot of noise in the black. Well, that's a good news. Tell you what, I'm going to make it not even worse, but I'm going to make this one. I'm going to work on the edges here. I'm going to make it black. Okay, I'm going to make it black, but I'm going to do it in such a way that is so gentle. There's a gentle way and there's the key light 1 drastic way. Let me show you the gentle way, because the gentle way works only for the edges and it's not going to help you for the core matte. You're going to see we are going to have nasty transparency, but we don't care. Okay, so let's work on these edges. There is a lovely parameter, a wonderful, that is your friend, that's the magic, that's your key, that's your secret weapon when it comes to edges. When you go this route, there's one that's called clip, roll, back. This is your friend. So what does it do? Let me explain once we start working on the stuff. Screen gain, okay, what do? We don't touch it. Okay, we don't touch it. But for fun, we're going to go with 0.3, like the maximum. Just tell you, okay, you can do it, but you know what? Don't go any higher than 3 or 5 maximum. Like even if you have nasty background. I would even recommend you stay with 1. Okay, but for fun, I'm just doing 0.3. Okay, let's move now to clip black. Now, we're not going to do screen balance. Do you know what screen balance is? You're actually changing the color that you have chosen. But we don't want to change the color we've chosen. We have deliberately chosen a color, a particular green, that gives us a lot of noise, but at the same time keeps our edges. You see how lovely the edges look? Well, I know they're surrounded by noise, but they look lovely. You don't have those, okay, when you get closer, you see some pixels, but that's because it's a compressed footage, right? And I've given you this technique with a compressed footage, with a very bad footage, so you see that it works. Again, not an excuse to work with bad footage. Right, so we're not going to touch screen balance in any circumstance whatsoever for key light number 2. For clip black, yeah, we have to do that. Clip black is the ultimate, and clip white, clip black are the ultimate parameters when it comes to cleaning your matte. But now I'm going to do it in such a way that I go a little bit like this, go up, go up, go up, go up. Yes, am I hurting my edges? Yes, I am hurting my edges, but hold on a moment. That magic trick is still coming. It's not magic, it's just mathematics actually. So increase, 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 increase until the last pixel. And not more than that. The last pixel is gone. Gone. Okay? All right. What have I just done? Well, it's a little bit like what we've done for key light number 1. Yes, we've taken a different route, but we just ended up with something similar. Not exactly. When you work with clip black, and even if you go that far, you have the option to roll back. What does rollback actually really do? While it may feel like canceling what you've done and going backwards, yeah, like making a U-turn, it's making a U-turn in a different way, in a beautiful way. Let me exaggerate clip rollback to show you the beauty of the work. I'm going to push it way high. Can you see? We are, yes, rolling back. It's like canceling, returning on the work we have done in clip black, but where did we start? We don't start just anywhere. We start from the edges. What's the beauty of this trick? Is that, okay, now we need to bring it back to reasonable, is that you can go back only for the edges. And this way, that's it. 0.8 sounds like enough for me. Okay, so this is how we preserve the edges. Basically, we're going to roll back what we've done. Wait, I've got some transparency here on the shirt. This looks nasty. It does look nasty, but guess what? Key light number 2 does not care because it's not his work. His work is only the edges. Have we worked on the edges? Yes. Do they look gorgeous? Absolutely. What gorgeous means just that we haven't heard them, basically. All right, so this, what is this? Well, this is part of the rollback. What have we done? We have used up to 0.8, but alpha is not going to help us enough to see what we're doing, so we're going to go a little bit down. 0.7, we could end up with 0.45, 47, 35 even. But the idea is that we are going to, what we could absolutely do is dilate, erode. We could, I'm resisting the temptation to go way down on the rollback, but you could do that, but I really prefer not to. So what I will do instead is stay on my 3.7 or 4 and erode instead. What have I done? What have I done? I've gone beyond the borders of the edges. Now, I've got more than the edges. That's what's going on. When you work on, oh, sorry, did I press A somewhere? Yeah, A. When you look at this, it looks great. But we've just gone far beyond the edge. We've worked so well on the edges that we have added more edges to the edges. Well, that's not good. So what I'll do is, yes, I want to roll back to the maximum I can, but at the same time, not hurt the edges. I'll just do it manually with screen erode, with dilate. So I was going to build -1, That is way too much. Minus 0.1. That's not enough. Minus 0.5-ish. Okay, I get the idea. Minus 0.8. Probably it was that one, maybe. 9. Okay, let's go with the 9. Let's go with the 1. Okay, what happened now? I have restored the edges and I have gone beyond my edges because I have to make sure I work on the edges properly. It's like I've covered them and I've gone even further. But to push myself a little bit back, I have used the erode. Eroding, not touching the edges, just the white line that is the nasty line surrounding it. Well, what do we have now? Edges are clean. See the shirt here? That is really, really bad transparency. But you know what? Again, yes, I know. You know it by now. We don't care. Cool. Now comes the point where we're finished. We have finished working on the edges, right? We're finished. So key light number 1 has finished doing its work. With step number 1, finished doing its work, which is core matte. Number 2 is remove the edges because they're not going to be used. Number 3 is change view to intermediate so that it goes to the key light number 2. Now, key light number 2 has step number 1, which is work on the edges, and has step number 2, which is receive the alpha from key light number 1. Let's go and get that alpha. Cool. How do we do that? Number 1, we need to go to here, combine matte. So we're going to combine the matte. That's combined matte. Okay. Ooh, what just happened? Hold on a moment. We have a few things that need to be tweaked. Because when you come down here inside mask, source alpha, you say ignore. Now I don't want to ignore it. We've worked so hard on so aggressively on key light number 1 that we don't want to ignore it. This is why when you ignore the alpha, the first key light output, what is coming out of key light 1, is coming out opaque because we're ignoring the alpha. We should not do that. We should take into account the alpha. So we add to inside mask. When you add to the inside mask, then what happens? Hold on a moment. Let me change this to composite. Right. Okay. Now, when we work, okay, composite, when we're going to add both. Okay, we're going to have now. Let me change that for you. Source alpha, ignore, add to inside mask. Ignore, add to inside mask. See, what do we have? We have the core matte from key light. Remember that one? And we have the edges from key light number 2. This rubbish work inside in the core matte of key light number 2 does not matter anymore because we have gotten the matte from the core matte from key light number 1. This is now inviting that. Remember, we put it in the waiting room. Now we have opened the door of the waiting room and say, come over here. We're using you. Okay. Now, are we done? No, there's another step. Step number 3. If you just keep it in mind, there are 3 steps for each one of those key lights, but they're different. Okay. Step number 1 for key light number 2 was what? Was to take care of the edges. Step number 2 was to bring in that matte from key light number 1 by changing to combined matte and add to inside mask, and you go to composite to see the result. Okay, and now we press A, we get a bit closer, and then you think, hold on a moment, this looks rubbish. Of course it looks rubbish, because not only the video quality is rubbish, but keying a rubbish video gives you even more rubbish results. But there's something you need to be aware of. So what happened? A keyer takes color information. When it doesn't find enough information, it takes something that could be the wrong thing, okay? So what do we have? Compression is basically ruining color information. You don't have enough color information. Have you noticed his shoulders? On the left, it doesn't look that bad. On the right, you have some nasty things going on. Why? Because that shoulder is closer to the green screen. Now, number 1, he shouldn't be there at all. He should be way further from the green screen. But whatever, we have to deal with this now. How do we do that? We are going to change the colors. So let me just see here. See the trousers, all full of dark dots in here. Dark dots that we did not have in the first. Let me just press here. Press 1. We didn't have that here. Let me show you the shoulder. We didn't have that here. Yes, we had okay, compression. That's like looks bad, compression, but that's it. But when you come here, that's a different story altogether. We have ruined color information by keying compressed footage. It's not. It's a lot. It's a combination of mistakes that ended up with this rubbish, right? It's the guy is too close to the green screen. The video was compressed. All sorts of things, right? And the lighting is poor and whatever. So, how do we deal with that? Well, it's quite simple. Inside replace. Replace the inside with the source. What is the source? Is this one. This is the source. This is your source. We're going to replace with the source. So we come to our key light number 2 to make sure I'm working on the same one. Inside replace source. When I do so, what happens? Something happens. Okay, 2 things, a good news and a bad news. The good news is, yes, we have got this color. The bad news is, yes, we have got this color. And what is this color? Where it's got spill. Now this one has got spill. Now the keyer takes away the green. So when you bring in the real colors, the source colors, you bring in the green again. So that means we're going to have to take that away. And that is this spill. Okay, that's another story. So now let me connect to the background, please. And when you are keying, it's always good that you do it when you're compositing. Now, when we work, when it comes to keying, you do it with a clean mat. You don't even need to have the background connected. When it comes to compositing, which is now the next step, basically this spill is going to have to be as part of the compositing bit, like the color matching bit with the background. Yeah. I want you to just keep in mind that whenever you're compositing with a green screen, you're compositing with your own background. The idea is not to make your alpha such perfect that it is composable with, I don't know if this verb exists or whatever that is exists. If it's composable with any background on the planet Earth, you have one particular background that you want, and that is the one that you're going to use for compositing. Right, so this is the one we're going to start now matching the colors with, and we start with the dispel. Let's center this one with H and have a look at this. Okay, this we have the spill here. Maybe you can't see it that clearly, but we have green spill because we have brought the original colors, and here it's obvious. It's obvious. You've got blue and you've got something that really doesn't look blue. It's not green. But when you add green to blue, you get this stuff that you see here, okay? That's what we have. So we are going back now, and we're going to do a dispel. There are different techniques for dispel, and I just thought, hold on a moment, why don't we enrich your toolbox? What if I give you another technique, like another way of doing it? Shall we do that? Okay, so how do we do it? There's one other way, which is, let me just move this one away, which is using an expression. Don't worry, it's very simple, very short, sweet, and lovely. I know it may sound a bit too mathematic stuff, and if you're not using to programming or whatever, it's just a very sweet one. Just be with me a second. I'm going to add an expression. So, Alt expression. We're going to talk to Nuke and just tell Nuke, there's some green over there. Can you please remove it? That's all. Actually, with an expression where we say, can you convert? Actually, when you say remove, what does it mean? What does remove a color mean? You need remove means add the opposite color from the color wheel. So if you remove green, you're adding what? That's it. Cool. That's what we're going to do. So we are going to come here to the expression. The expression looks like this, and then you have channels. And we want to work on the green. This one is ticked, is crossed, so we've got the green, so we're going to have to write something here. This is our expression. How complicated is that expression? Very simple. We want to have green, okay? You say, if the green, when you find that the green is, and I'm going to make a mistake deliberately here, okay? So I'm just warning you, I'm going to make a mistake, but I'll show you how to fix that. If the green not mistake in the expression, but in the approach, so that you can avoid it. Green is higher than red. Whenever you find green higher than red, basically areas of spill, you will find green higher than red. Then what should you do? You are going to make the red same as green. That's all. 7 letters. That's how sweet this expression is. It's quite simple. Actually, it gives you, you could go a little bit stylish and creative with it. You could even change it to blue if you want, but we're going to work with the red now. So what did we say? Whenever you find green is higher than red, please make the red and the green the same. What is green and red and stuff? You know that a pixel has red, green, blue, alpha information. Right? This is what we find in here. You got red, green, blue, alpha. So we say whenever this value is higher than this value, make this value equal this value. So this is how we are going to target the green spell. Okay. So when it's higher, means it's too much. So it's above the threshold. Okay. So this is it, and I'm going to press on enter. What have I just done? I've done something nasty. Why? Because I have worked on the whole image, including the background. Let me show you. I'm going to disable. Can you see? I'm disabling expression. Can you see back here the trees, the green space? Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it's doing. It's just making green and red equal, which removes a lot of green from the stuff. We don't want to do that, do we? Of course not. Well, do you remember we had worked on an alpha here? A core matte? Fantastic. This is why I wanted you not to go off board with eroding. And you shouldn't go to -10 or -30 because you may need it down the road, which is the case now. We have just eroded by -3 pixels, kind of. Okay, so I'm going to use this as a mask. This is a mask. So I'm saying, can you connect this? You remember that core matte we used? Let's connect it here. And I have just masked out the background. So I am now, I've just now equaled the green and the red where there's spill. So do we have spill? We don't have spill anymore. That is now what we have. Now this can have an effect on the colors, but then it's something you can tweak later. Let me show you how. Okay, let me press H, and then we come now. We are now still in the, we're not still in the keying part. We've finished, but green screen keying is not just green screen keying. We need to composite it, which means that it needs to look realistic. Yes, we've gotten rid of the green screen of the green spill in a different way. I actually just wanted to show you this so that you add it to your toolbox. But realistic, it needs to look realistic. So we are in the compositing phase where the foreground and the background need to match. Look at this background, it looks bright, and look at the foreground. One of the mistakes is the lighting was poor. They were lighting the green screen and the actors with the same light, which is somewhere above. There's nothing on the left, nothing on the right, there's nothing. So the lighting was poor. Let's fix this. Okay, so we're going to bring in a color correct. Color correct node. Okay, color correct node, and I'm going to make the same mistake again. Let's do it. Color correct, or you know what? You know it by now, so it's no longer fun. So let's mask, because if I color correct anything now, I'm color correcting the whole thing, including the background. All right, and I don't want to do that. The background needs to stay the back. Unless you want to target just the background, then you're going to have your color correct somewhere after this one, right? You could do that. You could just come here and say color correct. Where's that color correct? There we go. And then you can do whatever you want. You can make it even, yeah, black and white. Got it. Whatever you. But that's working on it separately. That's not what we want. What I want is to target only the foreground. These gentlemen weren't lit properly. So I'm going to mask again with the key light, so that now when I work on the gain, which is the reason why I want to relight these people, you could now, I use color correct rather than grade, because grade gives you less options in terms of shadows, midtones. Color correct gives you more options, gives you the ability to work on shadows separately, on midtones separately, highlights separately. Though I don't need it now because the whole thing is messed up. The whole lighting is messed up, so I need to work on the whole image. So I'm going to do 1.1 to light them, okay? And probably just for a little bit more detail, I'm going to add 1.1 of contrast, something like this, probably, or a little bit less, maybe 5-ish here. Okay, good. And then what you could possibly do is, yeah, then now if you want, you can start working on everything. You can say grade, yeah, just for a change, grade, and then you could tweak your whole image, including the background, if that's what you want. But this is another step. This is color correction. It is not compositing anymore, because compositing is working on matching the foreground and the background, which basically means you're going to tweak one of them or the other. But then compositing in general, yeah, color grading in general is part of compositing, but the target of matching the foreground with the background, that's what we have achieved with this one over here. Okay, now of course you can tweak the colors even further. You can work on the reds alone. You could do whatever you want now. Okay, so this sums up now the approach of what we have done. Let me just see, what have we done? Just to summarize very, very quickly, we have started with the green screen footage of absolutely rubbish quality. It's a stock footage of H.264. It has so many mistakes, enough mistakes for us to have fun exploring how to fix them. This is not an excuse to have rubbish quality video when you're recording. Start with RAW, please. Right. We have taken the approach of specialization. Using, yes, we have only used Keylight. We have here plenty of options. We used Keylight because I wanted to get Keylight Nuke a bit closer to After Effects users, so that they are able actually to get going with a keyer they already know, because Keylight is already in After Effects. Okay, it's not an excuse to use just one keyer, because if you ask from your one keyer just one thing, you're gonna end up with compromise. The matte, the core matte is suffering, the edges are suffering, and you are suffering, and because you're asking too much from your keyer. So we have split the task. The Keylight number 1 is taking care of the core matte, doesn't care about the edges. The Keylight number 2 takes care of the edges, doesn't care about the core matte. Okay, they have finished their work. This one has 3 steps. This one has 3 steps. If you just want to keep a checklist in your mind, or you want to remember how to do that, step 1, 2, 3, step 1, 2, 3. Step 1 was what? Get me the core matte. Step 2 was what? Was to remove the edges. Step 3 was to give the core matte to Keylight by changing the view to intermediate result. Okay, that's one. Keylight number 2 has 3 steps as well. Take very good care of the edges by starting with the right color of the green, having enough noise, fine. But then the key was the rollback. The magic parameter was the rollback, okay? And because we've gone a bit off-board with the rollback, we have used what? We have used the erode. So we have removed our exaggeration, we have removed it with the erode. That was step number 1. Step number 2 was what? Was to bring in the matte that we have put in the waiting room. Step number 3 is to change the colors. And that's what we have done with, what was it? Inside replace source. Now, bringing this has caused us an issue that we bring in more green from the source. So we need to make a dispill. Dispill can be done with plenty of ways. I just thought, just for enriching your toolbox, I've added an expression. What does expression say? It just says if the green is higher than red, just make green and red the same. Fine. But if you do it on the whole footage, you're going to change the background as well. So we need to mask it using what? Using the core matte that we had. This is why we needed to have very subtle eroding, not an exaggerated one. And we are going to match the lighting if there is any problem with the lighting, or any other color adjustment that you want, or any other adjustment that you want. It can be masked using this core matte, okay? Using this core matte. And now this is one of plenty of ways how to do green screen keying in Nuke Studio.